There were so many women that actually messaged me, and it was horrifying. Women that had to make the decision whether to put food on the table for their children or to get this medication. A lot, and like the cost to the state is horrendous. You're talking about women who cannot go into work. They have to lie in bed. They can't take their kids to school, or they like literally can't afford to pay for childminders. They have to stay at home sick with their kids just sitting around the place. It's horrendous. And you're taking up space in hospitals.
There's a higher risk of postnatal depression in women who have had hyperemesis in pregnancy too. There's knock-on effects with relationships.
Yeah.
There's knock-on effects with mental health, you know, perinatal mental health too. So there's so much to it, which is just terrible. Sabrina.
Laura, I'm so honoured to be here.
This has been a long time coming.
It has been. We have been talking about doing this for ages.
Yeah, but then Robin got in the way. Like, he's such a pain in the ass, isn't he?
Those babies.
I swear
always.
to God.
I think pregnancy got in the way more than anything else.
Well, actually, you and I really kind of hit it off when you were pregnant with your baby. Obviously, we've met before, but you were pregnant with your baby. You had hyperemesis.
Really badly.
And you did that video that showed what hyperemesis is. And I think that really started something, didn't it?
Even when I watch that back now, I'm a little bit horrified by how unwell I was, because I have managed to thankfully block a lot of it out. Now, I still remember, like, absolutely horrendous. I have been triggered. The funniest trigger ever happened, actually. I actually have to tell you about that. I haven't told many people. Inside in the hospital, they have, inside in the toilets, these Tork toilet roll holders.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
They're in every hospital.
Yeah.
And all I remember was one night I went in because I was going to get sick. I tripped. The little needle in my hand came out. There was blood everywhere. I was getting sick and I went to get some toilet paper out. And it's one of those Tork holders where you pull each sheet out.
Oh, goodness.
And somebody, Dean, was in there earlier on and got it stuck in. And all I remember is I couldn't get any toilet out. I couldn't reach towels, anything. So like every time now when I go and sit down in many shopping centres and in many hotels and I see Tork, I absolutely freeze. It just reminds me of that happening. But like, I've blocked so much of it out. It was horrendous. Really
Explain
horrendous.
first what hyperemesis is, actually, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what it is.
So you start off when you're pregnant with some morning sickness, and then the morning sickness doesn't go away. And I suppose the best way to describe it is that you were vomiting uncontrollably. You're very, very dehydrated. The level of sickness that I could think that it would be like is having about 4 bottles of red wine back to back on no food on a Saturday night and having that kind of a hangover for 4 days in a row. It's horrendous. Horrendous sickness, really, really, really bad. And I was really unfortunate that I had migraine with it as well.
And sometimes migraine will be there with it, and then sometimes it won't be.
I was very unfortunate that migraine was with it nearly all the time.
Oh my goodness.
So like in the space of a month, I had, I'd say, about 3 different kind of overnight stays or a couple of day stays inside in the hospital. So I spent half of my pregnancy inside in the maternity hospital. Brilliant care. But there's so little that they can do for you.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, I remember getting magnesium infusions for the migraine. Didn't really, really help. Like, it's keeping you hydrated and keeping on top of it with medication. I dread to think that if you didn't have the actual medication, what way it'd be.
Well, you became kind of the caravan crusader then, didn't you?
Not a lot of good it did me. But
God,
anyway,
I
I'm still disgusted over that.
Yeah.
But like I tried, and I actually felt so defeated. I was really upset by the end of it that women go unheard in Ireland. Like, the medication that you basically need is such a privileged medication. And that's so upsetting when women carry every single taxpayer that comes into this world and comes into this country, how Irish women weren't listened to in healthcare when it came to the sickness and the hyperemesis on a medication. It made no sense to me. It still makes no sense to me, the difficulties that you have to go through to get this medication.
It's crazy because when they did announce that they were bringing it out and it was going to be readily available under the schemes from them, because I would have dealt with ladies for years that were paying upward of €120 more sometimes a month. And whether you have a medical card or not, you had to pay for it. And then they announced they were going to bring it and make it available for everyone. It was going to be fine. And then the stinger of that was that come the 1st of January 2023, it was, yes, it's available, but only by consultant in a hospital. So that meant someone had to go to their hospital consultant to get, approved for it. women often don't go to their consultant until they're in the second trimester. It sent women into hospital that didn't need to go in. And it still left a lot of women outside not being able to access it. Because we would have had people coming into the pharmacy going, "Hi, so can I get it now?" And we're like, "No, actually you need to have this shitty approval process." But that's still, to this day, unchanged, isn't it?
It's still the case as far as I know. I think that they're trying to change that now an obstetrician can sign it, not a consultant obstetrician can sign the actual sheet. But as you just said, like most
the GPs
women
should be able to just sign it off.
Absolutely.
But do they think that, there's going to be just a run on this being prescribed then, and, you know, to cost the taxpayer money? I know it's an unlicensed drug too, and there's issues with that too. But like you say, women are carrying every taxpayer in to the country. Why can't they get this basic care? And so many women suffer from it, but have suffered in silence for so long as well, haven't they?
Absolutely, and put down and made feel that it was just a normal thing to have. Like for the very first part of my trimester, I was told, "Oh yeah, morning sickness. You know, that's what it is." But to continue on then to be in a position where I was actually vomiting and wetting myself at the same time, not being able to get out the door for work. There were so many women that actually messaged me, and it was horrifying.
Yeah.
Like women that had to make the decision whether to put food at the table for their children or to get this medication. A lot, and like the cost to the state is horrendous. You're talking about women who cannot go into work. They have to lie in bed. They can't take their kids to school, or they like literally can't afford to pay for childminders. They have to stay at home sick with their kids just sitting around the place. It's horrendous. And you're taking up space in hospitals.
But also there's a higher risk of postnatal depression in women who have had hyperemesis in pregnancy too. There's knock-on effects with relationships.
Yeah.
There's knock-on effects with mental health, you know, perinatal mental health too. So there's so much to it, which is just terrible. Did you have it on your first pregnancy?
I did have it, not to the extent of what I had at this time.
Okay.
But funnily enough, I have been a little bit unwell since, because I've always had some hormonal problems. And at the start of my IVF, I had a full blood screening and something popped up to do with my thyroid, and it was kind of flagged, and I was told to check it out afterwards. And I just have become a patient of Dr. Mary Ryan. What an amazing woman that you've had on the podcast. And she actually said that it could have been the severity of the hyperemesis, and certainly the headaches and the migraines could be directly linked to that.
Yeah.
So, but you just don't know, obviously. But given the fact that this was an issue beforehand, and I've since had Robin, and I've been having headaches and migraines, which I have been luckily enough been able to take medication for. But now that I'm being treated for something else, and it could be very much linked with that, but you just don't know.
No.
And like most women will ever know until they become pregnant and until they're carrying their baby, and they can take nothing or do anything for themselves then when they're in the middle of this horrendous experience.
Were you able to work during it? No.
I mean, I started getting really, really sick around September. And then it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I know that I had planned on kind of stopping at February. But I would say in that period of time, I was only in work half the time. And how lucky am I that I have my own business, that I was able to rely on others to kind of hold the fort. I can only imagine that if I was working for someone,
I know,
I would have been
also that you were lucky that you could have people hold the fort. Some people that run their own business, the business is dependent on them.
Yeah.
Like completely and utterly.
I was very, very lucky.
Yeah.
I was extremely lucky to have the team that I have there. They're absolutely amazing. But like, it's an area I can understand how a lot of women, when they do get pregnant again, they really do reconsider going through the pregnancy. I can completely understand, especially as you said a while ago, if it'll affect you mentally. That like you end up, like after my first child, I ended up in a psychiatric unit.
I know.
And I was so unbelievably unwell. So I can imagine that if you have a number of children at home and that is something that could happen to you, you seriously rethink about going through with it. I can completely understand that, why a woman would be faced with that.
And did you end up in a psychiatric unit after you had your first child?
Yeah.
Did you? I didn't know that.
I was very, very unwell after having Aaron. That's 21 years ago.
And you were only a baby yourself?
I was a baby. Not able to handle it at all. I think getting pregnant was such a shock to me.
Okay.
It was a big, big shock to my system.
And was it a shock to your family as well? Or
I think all of us, they were so supportive though.
Yeah.
Like my mum and dad are absolutely amazing. Very, very young, didn't know my partner very well at the time, and pregnant, just a shock to the system because it just wasn't the way that I thought my life was going to go.
Okay.
I had massive plans for myself, and this was just after happening to me, and I didn't know what to do. So I suppose I went through the whole pregnancy, had him, and then I think the shock of giving birth, and not speaking up. I think that's what a lot of it is. I think women in general do that no matter what age they are. They hold on to things and they always feel like they're a burden on people. And it's the one thing at the time that I really do remember was thinking I was going to be a burden on everyone. And that I was a burden on my little baby and a burden on my family, that I couldn't do the job right and I wasn't doing good enough for everyone.
And what age was he when you went into hospital?
I'd say he was about 4 months.
Mike, and how long were you in for?
On and off over 6 months, kind of like I kind of came out and I went back in again and I went in and out. And it was very upsetting on my family. I mean, they didn't know how to actually react other than care and love me. But like, that's a situation that had never been in our family and we just didn't know what to do. And eventually, the psychiatric care that was there at the time, it didn't do much for me. It didn't help me in any way. And I came out and I went home, and then I had a lot of therapy, and over the years kind of like got much, much better, and I wouldn't have changed any of it. I've seen an awful lot of things and I've learned an awful lot of things in life. And a lot of those things are drivers. And I think that's how I've actually become to be where I am. And I think out of all of that, the weirdest thing is that I've learned to be a really good communicator. I feel like I'm a really, really good communicator. I put out fires every day at work, little mini fires every day at work. But if there's ever anything, I feel that I'm a good solid person to kind of like have empathy, communicate things, and kind of have an easier way of seeing things. And I think that's from seeing an awful lot of things and going through an awful lot of things and doing a lot of cognitive behavioural therapy. I think that is
God,
the
it
biggest
sounds
thing.
to me like you're very wise. Was it severe postnatal depression you had?
It was psychosis. It was like literally, it was a real flip altogether.
My goodness.
I was very, very unwell. I was.
Yeah.
And I was very medicated all throughout that time then as well. And I can't even believe, and I suppose I don't see what way I was as such.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could, like how I am where I am now. You know, having my own business and doing all the things that I have done, which sometimes I have imposter syndrome and other times I'm like, God, you work so hard and fair play to you, girl. Do you know, that kind of a way. So kind of like in that way, to come from that, it's still only 20 years ago.
I know.
Do you know, it's like to be where I am now.
And was it hormonal as well? Like, I mean, there's probably so much of it thrown in. Hormones, your own mental health, everything. Like, had you had issues in your teens or before you were 20 that you would have had issues with your mental health or anything like that? It just happened post-baby or during baby's pregnancy?
A couple of things have come up since.
Okay.
This is actually the real gas thing about it. I've actually never spoken about this before, but I was very, very unwell after that. I went on antidepressants at the time and I got very unwell, went into hospital. And then a number of years ago, I was just going through a really horrible separation and I was prescribed antidepressants because I was feeling really depressed, feeling very, very low. And after about 2 days, I started having really, really bad symptoms.
Okay.
Where I was shaking, elevated levels of anxiety to a whole other level, like really, really, really bad. And I could feel myself starting to shake, like my skin was going to crawl. And I went back to the doctor and ended up seeing a clinical psychiatrist who told me, you're having a reaction to the medication. And I never actually really discussed this out loud because I didn't know enough about it until when I was pregnant. I decided with my obstetrician to go see a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Just to have a chat about things. I felt psychologically felt so well. And I suppose at that time, a number of years ago when that happened, I felt so psychologically well. Like I had a psychologist say to me, you were very okay. You're not having any bad thoughts or anything. There is something else. I'm going to refer you on to a clinical psychologist. And I'll be forever grateful that that's what happened because I was able to explain everything because it had happened before.
Okay.
It happened before and I was hospitalised when I was younger. Whereas this time I was so aware of what my body was doing and everything that was happening. So I went to have a chat with a psychiatrist with the team inside in CUMH. Just have a chat about everything. And he turned around and said to me, I think you have something called akathisia, which is where if you take certain medications, you can have a reaction to some of the ingredients in the medications. And some of the most, I suppose, popular medications for this to happen with is some of the newer types of antidepressants and also decongestants. Yeah. So it's something that kind of like, it was a light bulb moment in one way that like, I will never know when I was 21 years of age what it actually was. It could have been a mixture of whole other things, but the fact that it has happened since and thankfully was nipped in the bud. And took me a while to recover. It took me 6 months off work at that time a couple of years ago, and I recovered very well. But I had so much better understanding of what was happening, and I knew that it was like a chemical reaction of some kind rather than psychological. So I didn't actually question myself so much. But funnily enough, I haven't been on any medication, and I felt pretty funny over the last couple of months.
Okay.
And I went to Dr. Mary Ryan over this.
Yeah.
And we did a whole blood screening and everything. And again, something has flagged. And it definitely looks like that I have had a hormonal imbalancement all of my life, and something that was never, ever, ever treated. And I would say that the whole lot and the combination of everything led to all of this. I've always been very slow to talk about the antidepressant that way, because I would hate for anybody to think that antidepressants were bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've often heard a number of even friends and people that I know in my life saying, oh, I don't want to take those. And I'm always like, why? If you actually need help, if you actually need something to help you on your counselling journey or in your therapy journey, or just something to help balance you out for a while, there's nothing wrong with taking them. There should be no shame. There should be kind of nothing of that kind, because some people need them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been really, really slow then in talking about it out loud.
Because if you talk about something in a negative way, you might put people off taking it. And that's the worry. And that's being responsible though, Sabrina.
And I think as well as that, I do realise that I have a platform.
Yeah.
And that I do have influence of some kind. And sometimes if you talk about stuff, it might be related just to me, but you can actually really affect another human being and the decisions that they make. And that's something that I have a huge amount of acknowledgement for. And I think that's really, really important.
It's important that you said that. But it's also equally important to say to people that if they do have issues, psychological, psychiatric, if they're on medication, if they're not on medication, any decisions that they make regarding medication needs to be in conjunction with their pharmacist or doctor, definitely their doctor, but also their pharmacist can help them in terms of like weaning off medication, etc. But only if the GP is fully on board too. Because medications are very important. They help lots of people, but equally so, people can have negative reactions to them as well. But so long as they're documented and they're known, it's very important. But what I find interesting about you is this hormonal imbalance that you're talking about. And sure, aren't females just known for their hormones and our menstrual cycles and how it affects our moods and how it affects everything? And we're talking a lot about perimenopause and menopause these days too. And I think we all would know women in our families, generations gone past, or in the wider community that would have been maybe perimenopausal, menopausal and put into psychiatric care because
scary.
Because of hormones, really, and the fact that they weren't really understood. And, I've talked a lot about...
And there was an imbalancement.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Like, we are complex individuals, females in particular, the way our hormones work. And that's why the likes of Dr. Mary is so important. She came out with a book called It Must Be Your Hormones.
And I actually think that it's a book that every woman should read, not for themselves, but for their daughters or their future granddaughters. I think that's how important that book is.
It is, isn't it?
It really, really is. Like, we need to educate ourselves for our daughters, because like I look back now and I look that when I was 17 years of age, I was having 5-day periods. I was like literally getting sick, vomiting. And there was I had endometriosis when I was in my 20s. I had countless surgeries. There was a whole host of different things that now I look back and after speaking with someone like Dr. Mary Ryan, go, oh my goodness. Like,
I know.
That was not normal. But imagine...
But you put up with it, you see. Because women were taught to put up with it.
I always remember when you had a period in school and you had period pain and one of the girls go, I get desperate period pains. It's not normal. It's not normal to be at the point where you're crippled and bent over and vomiting and having diarrhea and just not able to function, having to go home from school.
Yeah.
Like, that's not normal. Not normal. I remember going home from work. I was working in a little supermarket. I remember being that sick and being really embarrassed because the guy that owned the shop, his dad had to bring me home and dropped me home. And I was literally so unwell. Like,
it's such a normal part of life, but we've this thing about the fact that we couldn't talk about it, or we're somehow weak for admitting the fact that we've really heavy periods or we're hormonal as a result of them. But we're slowly breaking down that shame. And I think that there's young girls out there nowadays that are they're happy to talk about it, and they're talking about their cramping, and they're talking about this and that in a way that we wouldn't have years ago.
And that's really good. But then I think that needs to be backed up by government. Like what we were talking about a while ago with the whole carbon issue, and also with the likes of HRT. We're not being supported by the government. Women's health is not supported in this country. And that's an issue. It's all good and well for all of us to be talking about it and raising awareness. But like me talking about hyperemesis, the amount of women that messaged me and said, oh, I think I have that, or I had that on my last pregnancy, but I was never offered the medication. But imagine they're pregnant again and then going to try and get the medication and finding so many obstacles, number one, or not having the privilege of having private healthcare like I did, because I was very privileged to be able to contact my doctor and to say, sign this for me, or to pay for it because I was in a position to pay for it. And all of these things are stopping women from speaking out even further or doing something about their female health. I just think that it needs to be backed up an awful lot more by the government.
Yeah, it does. But I wonder how much screaming and shouting and hollering we can do before it does happen. Like, look what happened with the caravan. You and I are supposed to go on the radio about it, and sure, you went on the radio, and was it Mr. Duffy? Yeah, and he just said, oh God love you, and sure, that's grand. Oh yeah, and we thought we'd actually get it elevated, get your voice elevated, but it wasn't really.
ITV or Virgin Media, Ireland AM, same.
Yeah,
nothing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I think maybe it's because there is only a certain amount of women have it at a certain time of their lives. Like, so out of my whole lifetime, I was pregnant twice, those 2 9-month periods. Like you couldn't even, the last time it wasn't that bad with Aaron. So with Robin, it was 9 months, like 8 months out of my life where I was seriously unwell. And then you have your baby and you kind of forget about it until maybe a neighbour's daughter has it or your cousin has it or something like that.
Yeah. So it's not
continuous.
in your mind now, therefore it's not as important as it was at the time. So then you're finished your, I suppose, advocacy for it ish. You know, you'd still talk about it, but it's not as pertinent in your mind. So then it's up to another woman to do it. Yeah, and it's tiring. Women are tired and exhausted.
I was so sick.
Yeah.
And I was shouting and roaring. And I was so disillusioned and so upset that nothing happened. And it's like, if I do that and still nothing happened, what else is going to happen?
I know.
Like when no one actually makes the change, and not only that, but the same message was sent out with every single email that went to every single TD, and literally the Healy Rays were the only ones that answered me back straight away.
Really?
First off,
were they?
And from themselves as well.
Okay.
Not from Joan, the secretary.
Really? Good old Healy Rays, eh? What did they say to you?
Literally, like, we're going to look into this.
Okay.
We're going to get some answers for you, and I'm going to get back to you.
And did they?
They did. They did, but like,
I know. What can
there
they
was still
do?
nothing done, you know, at the end of the day.
So Robin was an IVF baby, wasn't he?
Robin was an IVF baby.
So you had one big quelle surprise, and then you had this fella that
you couldn't have planned it any better.
And then you had this fella that took a little bit of help, but actually it happened quite quickly for you, didn't it? Like, you were very lucky.
Did. We were very, very lucky. I suppose the background of it is that I had tubal blockages.
Okay.
From endometriosis, so my insides were not the best for actually conception. So we decided to go with IVF, and we weren't together that long. Like, I met Dean like only about like 1.75 years before that, but we just knew.
Straight in there, no kissing, Sabrina. I like your style. I like your style. Okay, you. Hey, you. I'm nearly 40. I want another baby. You're it. Go.
I was more than 40. Literally, we just fell head over heels in love. I actually never wanted more children.
Did you not?
No.
Okay.
And then I met Dean, and all I remember was, looking at him one day and going, he'd make an amazing dad. He really, really would. And I suppose I got broody from that.
So you got broody from the fact that you were in love. Was it that kind of?
Yeah.
And you wanted to have a family with this person.
Exactly. Aww. Wanted to have that. And like, he was like literally whatever you want, babe. Like, you know, he was totally fine, you know, and we decided.
Does he have other children himself?
No.
Okay.
No, he doesn't. Actually, what really happened as well that kind of spurred me on, we had spoken about it, but a client of mine came in, I'm quite friendly with her actually, and she would be a good deal younger than me, and she was after having a blood test to check her hormones and the whole job, and found out that she didn't have a lot of kind of like healthy eggs left, and that she was going to have trouble conceiving.
Okay.
And I remember her saying, I would never ever say this to anyone else, but I'm telling you now, Sabrina, if you want to have a baby, you need to go get that blood test done. And I literally rang the clinic that day.
Did you?
And I got through to them, and a nurse rang me back, and she wanted to know where I was kind of in my monthly cycle. And she was like, oh, come in tomorrow at 7:30 and we'll do that blood test. So I didn't even have a chance to kind of like think about it. We were only going to do the blood test. We were only going to get that checked.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there we were.
Doing
Bob's your
IVF?
uncle.
Fanny's your aunt.
Yeah. And it was great.
And how
Everyone
many
was so
little
supportive.
embryos were made?
Oh, so there was 9 follicles,
Okay.
6 embryos. None of them survived, bar Robin.
Okay.
So he's a complete miracle.
Oh, he really is, isn't he?
He
And
really,
even
really is, yeah.
wow.
He's a right little busty baby too. He's a live wire.
But like you were just saying, he doesn't drink. He doesn't like bottles. He just
No.
eats food.
He loves the food.
That's gas,
we
isn't
have to
it?
dream feed him. Literally, I'm sneaking formula into the food the whole time, like putting scoops in. He really does. He has bottle aversion. I think that's from the reflux and everything. He's got a cow's milk intolerance.
Okay.
So we're kind of putting him on the formula's rank hard. I tasted
It's
it
not.
myself.
Yeah, it's not.
It's bad.
Okay.
But like he needs it. So we sneak it in other ways, and then we do dream feeds at night time. He's sneaking out a bottle in and he takes it then and goes back to sleep.
That's gas,
So but he
isn't
loves
it?
the grub. Loves it. He's a great little boy. He really, really is. He is such a blessing that none of us thought that we would have. Not even my mum and dad. Like
Are they
we
mad
never-
for him?
Mad for him. And do you know what? My dad is retired now, so he's at home a lot more often. And Robin just laughs at him all day. He just laughs.
The
at him.
granddads are great. My dad was the same with my 3. Like he was, they loved him. And even though mum was probably the one that would have done the most of the minding,
Yeah.
they would have actually come in as toddlers and like pushed mum out of the way to go straight for dad, because dad would make the funny face and do the it's gas,
Chief
isn't it?
entertainer.
And would you like to have another one? Do you think, or is that it?
I don't know. I mean, like I'd say now,
Is
if
that
all
even
my
an
friends
appropriate
and my mother
question
and
to
my
ask a
family,
woman anymore?
I
I
don't
don't-
mind. No,
okay, okay.
I'm kind of open for that.
Okay.
If I was younger and if I thought that I would have no hyperemesis, then it would be a definite yes. If I could like literally knew I wasn't going to have hyperemesis. But the reality is economically, I have to think of my business.
Yeah.
I literally do. It is no joke being out of work that length of time. And then when you have 2 children, will you be able to put in the hours that you can when you have one at home? That's another side to it as well. And childcare and the whole lot of it. So we kind of went into IVF not knowing would we even have one. So that's a blessing in itself. But if I was a couple of years younger and if I knew I wasn't going to have hyperemesis, it would be a 100% yes. And I think the decision would be hard to make as well if there was any little embryos frozen in the clinic. But the fact that there is nothing there as well, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's something as well that I am a good deal unwell with my hormones at the moment. So it's not a decision you could even make until everything was balanced out. I need to put myself first in that regard. But I'll tell you what, it's a very emotional thing. I remember going in for the 6-week checkup with my obstetrician. And I remember like nearly crying inside there because it could technically be the last time that I saw him.
Yeah.
Do you know? And that's hard to kind of like, my life changed so much over a short period of time. Like even now I still think we're kind of coming out of the COVID in our own heads. Like I said, we're still, my life changed drastically over like a period of those couple of years where I was like, go. Like all I did was work. I worked day and night. At the end of the week, I got on a plane. I went to a different country. I did hair in other countries. I did hair in Dubai. I was over working with different brands in Europe. I was all over the place.
Was this for
Prior to COVID, just all to do with hairdressing.
and was it to do with influencer marketing, or was it just to do with hairdressing?
No, I only did a tiny bit of influencer work
Okay.
before COVID hit.
Okay.
And COVID was like literally, well, I wasn't bored at home anyway.
Okay.
I was doing influencing. Literally, all before that, I educated a lot when it came to hairdressing.
Okay.
And whether it be in Ireland or in Europe, I used to do an awful lot of work that way. I loved work.
And how does that work? Is it that a salon or a hair product maker would fly you over to do it, or what?
So in Ireland, I have my own company with my friend Denise and my hair wife. And we...
Your hair wife?
I call her my hair wife. We're
Love
just
it.
like, literally, we collaborate. She has a salon in Kilkenny.
Okay.
And she owns Curly Co, the company Curly Co. And then
Okay.
the two of us have a company where we went around teaching around Ireland. And we brought up kind of different hair courses, all to do with colouring. That's kind of my thing, healthy hair and colouring. And
I'm not
we
even going to ask
made,
you what you think of mine at the minute.
No, I never look at anyone's hair when I'm out of work.
Oh, good.
I swear to God, I just don't. I never see
I
it.
say that to like dermatologists. Do you look at people's Botox?
But do they?
They don't pass.
Like, listen,
No.
I don't look at anything like
No.
that. Now, if someone had amazing hair,
Yeah.
I'm like, who did it? I need them to work for me. I'm like,
Okay.
but that's different. Other than that, no, I never look at it.
Well, I just had loads of oats thrown in my hair today for like some skit that I'm doing online. So
They're healthy. That's fine.
Exactly.
That's no problem. I've heard way worse things.
I
There's
know, I
things
can
now that
imagine.
like there are some horror stories, hairdressing horror stories that I remember. The worst thing I was ever told was a friend of mine. Well, I worked for her, but she worked over in London for years and years. And the old school way of straightening hair was that you mixed perm lotion with flour, painted it on the hair, it set straight, and then you rinse it off after about 20 minutes and neutralise it. The reverse of a perm.
Yeah.
But in this particular salon, they were recently after doing it up. And one of the women told one of the juniors to go out the back and mix up some more solution. So she mixed it up and she came out, except she mixed grout instead of flour with the perm lotion.
The person's hair fall off?
Yeah, it had to be shaved off. Yeah, it was really bad.
Jesus.
I didn't see it, but like literally it's one of the horror stories.
Oh
It'll
my
always stay with me.
goodness.
Like the little bit of panic.
Jesus.
But I have seen loads of people's hair snap off over minerals in their water, reacting with bleaches and reacting with different
And is that
metals.
so? Irish water is very hard water, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Besides being hard, it's so heavy in metals and minerals. So you have two types of water. You have like your corporation water, which is just like chemical, bit hard. Most Irish water is hard, but it's kind of okay. And that would generally dry out hair. That's where we'd see hair that could be a little bit dry when they're from certain areas. And then you have people in the country who will have well water, or even if they're on mains, they might have just a heavier buildup of different kind of metals and minerals like iron, copper, and then iron sulfate, and they eat away at hair. And a lot of these will sit under the cuticle as well. And then when you mix them with any type of bleaches or colours, chemical reaction happens. And even a chemical reaction can happen with products that you use at home that you put on top of your hair. Because like water is a neutral 7, but you're on the pH scale, but like your skin and hair is 4.5 to 5.5. So even shampoo that you put on your hair acts as a chemical, and water acts as a chemical to hair and will do something to it one way or another. So if your hair is coloured in any way and the cuticle is raised, it's going to damage it in one way or another. I've seen water do more damage than bleach and heated tools in my whole 25-year career.
Really?
It's the worst damage is water damage.
And what area in Ireland is the worst actually?
County Clare and Carlow. Any clients I've had from County Clare and Carlow that have come, because we do get a lot of clients from around the country.
And Clare's the burn, obviously. So all all that area with all the limestone and that. No, well, that would make sense.
Lime really kind of doesn't do anything to kind of hair. It just kind of hardens the water, so it will change it. But it's more that there would be a lot of iron sulfate. And actually a lot of green heads come from there. So that's a lot of copper, high levels of copper in the water.
When you say green heads, what do you mean by that?
It's like blondes turning green.
Oh, right.
Like that khaki kind of colour.
Is that actually a term?
Yeah.
Green heads?
Well, I call them green heads.
Someone a green head. Jesus, we should look at a bunch of fucking green heads and walking in the
and you'd
salon
see it
now.
a mile away. And it's so funny. Sometimes people sit in front of you and they don't see it. And the minute you point it out, they're like, literally, they see it and you can never unsee it.
And can you not neutralise it? Does that?
So the best thing to do is to detox the hair in some way or form, because like a lot of it is actually under the cuticle. So if you put on kind of like, you can do a treatment at home, which won't work as good as the salon ones, but in the salons we've got certain type of clay masks that will remove it out of the hair, because a lot of people that actually need to have it removed do want to go on and colour it. So if you use too much chemicals on it, you're just going to kind of like worsen the whole thing. Like you're going to make the hair really unhealthy, break down disulfide bands, and you're going to damage it to a point that you can't colour it. So you have to be quite gentle with it.
And when you talk about the cuticle of the hair now, what part of the hair is that? Because when I think of cuticles, I think of the cuticles of my nails, which you can push back.
Yes. So that's exactly what happens on your hair. So the cuticle is what covers the whole hair, like one strand of hair. There could be up to 9 layers of that on the hair.
Okay.
But generally, as you go further down, there's less and less. And that's from breakage and wear and tear, environmental damage and chemical damage.
So further down the length of the shaft.
Yeah,
Okay.
down the shaft of the hair. And that naturally happens over time. When
Okay.
hair is on your head a long time, you don't replace it. It's the same one. So it's going to get that little bit more damaged.
Okay.
And what happens is when water is hard, or if you scrub your hair even, like if you got into the shower and you scrubbed your hair and you didn't use any conditioner and then you came out, your hair would be really knotted and it would be really, really dry. And that's because the cuticle is being brushed back upwards. So think of like the roof of a house, and it's like all the tiles going downwards.
Okay.
That's what your hair looks like under a microscope on the
Okay.
outside, on the way down.
Jeez, this is like a science lesson.
But
we've gone
you
from
are a scientist.
we've gone from hyperemesis to I don't know how we did this, but I'm finding this really interesting.
This is a big jump.
So go on, tell me. So the slates are down.
Yeah.
So
So if you do anything to rub them back up, like think of
Right.
wind. If there was a storm
Oh yeah.
and you blow that, and then some of those like roof tiles come up, some of them lift up, some of them come off,
Yeah.
then what happens? Everything gets into the house, in underneath, and destroys what's inside.
Okay. So that's what's happening to the hair.
So that's what's happening to the hair.
So is conditioner good for the hair or not then?
No, conditioner is brilliant for the hair, but what we really need to look at conditioner like is that it has a very low pH, so it's a little bit more acidic. And what it does, it smoothens down the cuticle, smoothens it down, but it doesn't completely shut the cuticle. So you need to think of that as like a daily moisturizer. Not you
Okay.
should be washing your hair daily. It's the worst thing you can do.
Okay.
But like you should look at it as a moisturizer. So your shampoo should be your cleanser. And I always say this, would you use hand wash on your face?
Absolutely not.
Because a lot of people use that type of stuff on their hair, and I'm always
And what
adamant.
type of stuff is this then? Tell me.
Well, just kind of like brands that are mass produced, that are kind of like that you can kind of get like in some of the supermarkets and the likes of that.
But you're not going to name any.
No, I'm not going to name any. I
Okay.
think everybody kind
Knows
of
what
knows
you're
what they're
talking about.
talking about.
Okay.
We're not going back to the old fist eating days of Snapchat.
Okay.
But there is good brands inside, like La Roche-Posay makes amazing shampoos. And there are
Okay.
some brands that are inside, and let's say like chemists and stuff like that are very, very good.
But a lot of them don't sud up, and people like an L sud.
They do. Sometimes, right, I think people use too much of the product. And if
Okay.
you have a sulfate-free product, they're not going to suds up that much. But if you use too much of it, they'll sud up even less. I know that sounds really, really strange, but it's hard to work the product in. Also, I don't think people actually lather up their product enough in their hair. I mean, like if you just like put a bit of cleanser on your face and do a very quick wipe and then rinse, there's going to be residue on your face. So that's why we do a double cleanse on our face. And similarly, we should be actually working that little bit more with the shampoo on their hair. Like I use a mixture of sulfate-free and sulfate products. I don't think they're bad. I don't think brands that have sulfates are bad. What we need to start thinking about is the quality of the sulfate that's in it and the technology in the product and what they actually do. So what I would do when I wash my hair is that I'll always put shampoo in, saturate my hair, put a little bit of water back over my head, and then I'll massage it into my head. And I'll actually leave the shampoo on my head for about 3 minutes.
Okay.
I would leave it on my hair as long as I would leave a mask on my hair.
Okay.
I want to leave the shampoo work. I want to leave it break down anything that's on my hair because I like dry shampoo. I only wash my hair twice a week, sometimes nearly once a week.
I find dry shampoo gives me an itchy scalp.
It depends on the brand you're using.
Okay.
And sometimes I feel like as well, you need to use dry shampoo before you actually need it. So if you use a dry shampoo at nighttime and then you spray it on a little bit, you massage it into your head because it is dry shampoo. So you need to kind of like nearly activate it a little bit to soak up all the sebum that you're going to
Okay.
produce, particularly at nighttime. It's a great way of doing it. And then in the morning, you're going to find that you're not going to need another blast of dry shampoo. And also it'll do the work better throughout the night.
Okay.
I'd actually put dry shampoo into my hair after I do a blow dry. I did it today.
Okay. And I would have thought that, and your hair is beautiful today, by the way, for anyone that isn't seen. But why would you do that when there's no sebum in it after a blow dry?
Just because it's going to start producing. I have hair that's that little bit oilier, and I
Okay.
know already that throughout the day it's going to produce that little bit more sebum. Also, the reason why I use it as well is my hair gets very tangly, and I find putting a little blast of dry shampoo in puts a little powderness into it that stops it from tangling and knotting.
Okay, because it just coats it then.
Just a
and
little
leaves
bit.
It's like what powder does. And what brand do you use then?
There's a couple of brands I love. I love Moroccan oil. Fantastic, absolutely amazing. Doesn't have any nasty ingredients in it. I also love Olaplex dry shampoo.
Okay.
It's a little bit lighter. I love using that one after I do a blow dry because I don't need to have too much powder. And a really, really great brand that I love that's actually in chemists and shops is Clarine. I think it's very, very gentle. I really, really like that one.
I've actually used the Clarine one and I did like it, but I don't have it currently. I have
Clarine is very, very good, and I find is really good for people who have that kind of gets itchy kind of scalp. I like that brand for that. And Nioxin do a good one as well. It's quite pricey, but it's quite a good one.
And you did say that the products that people are using at home aren't as good as the products in the salon.
Generally, yes.
And why is that? Why can't we make products that are as good to use at home like we can for, say, our faces and, facial.
We can, but they cost more money and the chemists don't really want to buy them in. That's what a lot of the time what it is. Even though now they are a lot more, they're kind of selling much, much better brands that has technology behind them. I suppose the best way to try and describe this is that if we go back to skincare and explain in one way. So let's just say a real buzzword is hyaluronic acid.
Oh, yeah.
We all know what it does. Moisturise, plumps, makes everything look fresher. So let's just say that you can buy a product that has hyaluronic acid in it, and you can get one that could be like €11, a brand that has it. States it on the front, has it printed. That's the ingredient that's in it, and it is in it. And then you might have the likes of that in a product by Image or Environ, and they're going to probably be around €100, maybe a little bit more. And the difference of that is the molecule weight in the product. So basically you do have it in the cheaper one, but it's something that's going to sit on the outside or just under one dermal layer of your skin. It's not going to go any further. Whereas if you have something that molecular weight is much, much smaller, that's going to travel into the skin, probably has a bit of technology behind it as well, that's going to travel into the skin, go down a couple of layers and do the work that it needs to do. And hair care is exactly the same way. If you look at all of the hair brands worldwide, they work very, very closely with skincare brands. I mean, for years, Joico, which is a brand I absolutely adore, and they worked with Shiseido. So like all of these laboratories where they were kind of like coming up with new technologies and new different ingredients, and they were cross-sharing them. And that's why a lot of the hair companies were getting bigger and better when it came to new ingredients, new technologies. So when you pay that little bit extra, the first thing I would say is that it's more concentrated. You do need to use less. The quality of the ingredients are much, much better. That's my argument about sulfates. Like a lot of people went through this whole kind of area where they were saying, oh, sulfates are so bad for you. They're desperate for you. But I think what we need to remember is that if there is a sulfate-free product, there is a chemical replicate of sulfate in that bottle that will try and do the same job. So at the end of the day, it's a different chemical, but it's still a chemical. It's important to remember these things.
But people are probably less inclined to spend the extra money on their hair care than they are on their skincare. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's something I think we're changing.
Yeah.
But it definitely is.
And it makes sense that people would want to, because even, when you're taking something, just say when you're taking a supplement for your skin, like it's going to help your hair because they basically work off the same nutrients, and the skin in your scalp is what's giving your hair its nutrients.
Absolutely.
So it would make sense then that if you're going to put money into your skin.
Well, how much do you pay for your skin? And how much do you pay when you go to the hair salon?
Yeah, I know.
Like I have women sitting in front of me and they could be paying 150, 200 euros for their hair colour and then going out and putting hand wash on their hair.
Yeah.
Just
Timothy.
Baffles me. I don't even, does this still make that?
I don't know. It was the first thing to come to mind.
I know. I don't even know. It was years ago.
I know,
I can't even remember the smell of it.
I know. And it was green, like fairy liquid. Do you remember?
Was it green?
And
it was a bluey colour.
And do you remember the ad on the television? It was the one with the long blonde hair. Like she's really long. Yeah.
I wonder, was that an Irish product or was it like one of those worldwide products? I think it was only available
in
Ireland.
No way Timothy was only an Irish product. Are you sure? It doesn't even sound Irish.
I have to do a big
I will have
dig
to look
in
that up. I think that's so interesting what you said all about the hair though. And you're right. People spend a couple of €100 on their highlights, but then go home and wash it and crap, really.
And I would go as far as saying that your shampoo is far more important than your conditioner.
Okay.
Like far, far more important.
Well, but I couldn't like leave the shower without putting conditioner on my hair because it just wouldn't, I wouldn't be able to get a comb through it.
You need to do it, but the quality of it.
Okay.
Like if I've had students in front of me and I've had them say, I can't afford both of them. Will I just get a good conditioner and mask? And I'm like, no.
That's so interesting because I would have thought
Shampoo.
that buy the mask or buy the conditioner and just use any old shampoo, but no, it's the other way.
If you're using something that's like a detergent that's like really, really heavy and hard on the hair and like literally takes a couple of the tiles off the roof, well, no conditioner is going to hold up that roof. There's no conditioner that's going to actually rebuild that roof or do anything to it. So you might as well use something to stop the damage happening at the start.
Okay, fair enough. And what was your hair like after having the babies? Because that's notorious, isn't it, for falling out?
Listen,
do you have little baby pubes?
I have no idea
little
because
pubes
there's
around
hair
your-
tapes in here now. There's
is there?
extensions going on.
Is there?
I had a bit of hair loss at the start, but I have been one of these women that's very lucky. I didn't lose any hair on Aaron, and I haven't really lost much hair with Robin. It's definitely not as luscious or kind of like, and it's oilier. It was less oily in the pregnancy, but like literally I was so sick.
Yeah. And actually, do you know what I meant to ask you? While you were you worried that the same thing may happen your mental health after having Robin that happened after having Aaron? Did that cross your mind?
No, and that's an age thing.
Okay.
I think that's definitely a difference of the age. I am very sure of myself. And that's one thing that I love about myself, and I love as I've hit my 40s. I am very, very true about myself. I like knowing myself. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And I have
giving less of a shit about what people think.
Completely giving less of a shit about what people think, but actually just standing up for myself. Really standing up for myself and saying, no, I feel very, very well. And I know I'm going to be very, very well. And I will also not feel a burden on anyone. And I will say if I'm not well. And you need to trust me and you need to know that I've got this.
Okay.
And I think that's something that I love about me.
Okay.
That I like that about me. I like that kind of positivity that I have.
And knowing when to
that.
ask for help and knowing that you're not a burden. But I think some women feel that they're a burden.
Yeah.
Like some people will come to me, and that's why I'm doing the Viva la Vulva tour, and when I do, when I do my talking about the women's anatomy and stuff, because women would come and they'd be like, I don't want to bother my doctor.
Yeah.
Because I'm so, and I often say to them, but if it was your daughter or your son that was saying this or your partner, would you tell them to go to the doctor? Oh, well, yeah, but like that's different.
Yeah. That's a woman thing.
Isn't it?
It is. It's desperate. I just think we all need to have a voice because then it's collective and then we are going to make a change and we are going to make a difference by feeling like that. And actually that's one thing I love about being online, that I get to talk like that. It actually boosts me when I have women message me and saying, I just love how real you have been about this, or that you have actually shown what it's like. That matters to me more than any brand ambassador thing, more than anything that you would ever sell. That to me is, I just want to make a difference that way for women.
Yeah.
That I just want to make a woman go, actually, I do want to go to my doctor and I do want to tell her I don't feel really, really well and maybe there is something that can be done.
It's that not knowing. And sometimes people feel that because they don't know enough about a condition, you know the way you're saying like, oh, my hormones are imbalanced. You don't have to be a doctor to be able to say that. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be, but I know that you went to your doctor and you've had your blood test done, but women sometimes second guess their own intuition about their bodies too.
Yeah. And sometimes you only need to speak to the wrong person as well.
I know. Well, this is very true. You see, this is the issue.
Yeah, that's what happens. And then you'll judge, you doubt yourself. If you doubt yourself, then that's a seed, and that seed will grow a tree.
I would always say to a lady, if they do go to see someone and they don't get the help that they feel that they deserve, or they come away doubting themselves, they should go and get a second opinion from someone else.
And that's very, very important. That's something I had to do this year. Not with my own health, with family member, with my son Robin.
Okay.
And I just there was a couple of occasions that this has happened recently, because this is my new thing for 2024, that there were situations where I trusted my gut and I went to find out about something, and the conversations I had were very condescending.
Okay.
And it's my new thing for 2024 is that I'm going to speak up. In both occasions, I was so sorry that I didn't just stop the conversation.
Okay.
And I didn't say, I'm sorry, but I don't like the way that you're actually conversing this with me. I don't like the way you're communicating. You're coming off as actually a little bit condescending.
And this was obviously with a doctor or
medical
healthcare.
people.
Yeah.
They were both medical people. And I could have said it nicely, do you know?
But do you think that you were intimidated to not saying it? And do you think that sometimes, how do you think they would have reacted if you said that, you see?
I actually think the man would have reacted better than the woman.
Okay.
because it was a man and a woman. That's me just kind of thinking that just offhand now. I think the man would have handled it better than the woman. And that was just with these two individuals.
So you went to two people about the same issue?
No.
Okay. These two people, two separate issues.
They were in or around
Okay.
to do with his digestion, but there were two different things. And it was just two situations where I was sorry I didn't just stop the conversation.
Okay.
But this can happen in any part of life. I've had it happen in the salon. And I've had it happen, like literally, we've all been there. We've all spoken, had someone speak to us in a real condescending way. It has had to have happened to you. Like,
yeah, of course.
Occasions.
Yeah.
And it's just, we just kind of like, we either grit our teeth and extra smile at them, or we kind of like literally just, they'll go away. Do you know, that kind of a way? And
whereas if we're more assertive with them, sometimes you put them back in their little box. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people would be kind of very, very shocked if you, in a good way, hopefully, that if you said it, because I think sometimes people, they don't realise they come across that way, maybe. I don't know. I just think that.
And then sometimes as well, someone said the same thing so many times and has seen this same type of thing so many times, they just think, oh, this is just another one of those.
Yeah.
As opposed to actually really listening to the person that's in front of them and what they're saying to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be a lesson for everyone.
I think it's a lesson for now on that you can actually say something in a kind way.
Yeah.
And you can let them know what you feel about it, because then at least it could break down whatever barrier that's there as well, to have like a really good genuine conversation about where you want to go with this, because sometimes it could be just easy to end the conversation then if both of you disagree, rather than just sit there, get really frustrated, come out, ring your mother and have a bitch.
Which is what you did.
Which is what happened.
Okay.
Mary.
But Robin is on the mend now anyway, and you've got that sorted. And
he's on medication, which is really helping him, which we will be weaning him off at some stage. And he's getting on great with weaning, and he's a very happy little boy.
He's a dote as well. The kicking of the legs and the high chair is my favourite. The little chubby legs.
It is. And it's actually so different compared to having Aaron 21 years ago. It's like the difference in, I'm so calm.
Okay.
That's a 40s thing. I'm glad I waited until I was in my 40s to have another one. I'm definitely calmer and definitely happier. And
are you more tired though?
I don't know, because I can't remember if I was very, very tired back then because I was unwell. But I think I'm more organised. I'm actually only able to see the positives, actually. Maybe I am more tired, but I'm actually way more positive about kind of things, and I can see all the good things. Like, I don't remember ever wishing that like Aaron would slow down and growing up. But now I'm just like, I'm enjoying this so much. Even the night feeds, even everything, I can really appreciate it so much. And I don't think I did that with Aaron, and it flew. You know, and we have a great relationship. Myself and Aaron have a brilliant relationship.
Yeah.
But like, it's going to be very, very different with Robin.
Oh.
Because I grew up with Aaron.
Yeah, well, I suppose. But that comes from being a young mum, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas now you can kind of maybe take a step back and just really appreciate every moment, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, everything. Look at the squidgy legs.
I know. And even like, so I had mine very close together. Like I had 3 under the age of 4 at one stage, boys as well. It's like mentalers. And sometimes I do think, oh God, those days were so tough, particularly the first 6 months after having my third. I literally had a chronic headache for 6 months. It was just pure tiredness. I feel that I probably didn't enjoy them as much as I could have done when they were really small, because they were so close together.
But no one knows any different. And I think that's a really important thing to remember.
True. But I do think that if I had one night, which is not going to happen, but if I did, I feel like, oh, that could be like, you know, just like a little,
but you think that
little handbag that I carry around.
But you could be so sick like I was.
This is true, yeah.
And you could be, like, that's the one thing in life, is that you really don't know what way it could have been if it was a different way. And you know no different.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And they're as happy and thriving. And sure, they're all best friends now because they are so close in age.
See, that's so class.
I know.
That would have been my dream when I was younger. 5 of them at the kitchen table. 5 boys. All boys. Couldn't deal with girls.
I couldn't have convinced my husband to have the 4th. He was like, no way.
I don't think I'm going to go home and say that to Dean.
He was like, I will leave you at the hospital, but I will not pick you back up again. So it's either me or this fictitious baby that you haven't had yet. You choose. You choose. I was like, oh, I kind of need a man around the house.
Yeah, you do. Blue jobs.
And so can we talk a little bit about your influencer part of your life? Is it a big part of your life and job and work and income?
Huge.
Or is it? It is, okay.
Massive.
Okay.
And it's something that I feel that, like, I've often actually been at different events and some of the girls be like, oh, I don't like being called influencer. And I'm like, it's just a name.
Yeah.
I don't dress hair. but I'm a
No.
hairdresser.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just a term, like you're
Yeah.
a salesperson in one
Yeah.
way or form.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm very proud of the opportunities that it's after giving me. It certainly has built my salon business, and I absolutely adore doing it. It was something I never thought or could see myself doing. And then COVID hit, and I started just being online that little bit more because I had time on my hands. And then my agency contacted me and they were like, we would love to sign you up. And
So prior to that, you were just kind of doing hair salon-y stuff, were you?
talking about hair online.
Okay.
And just talking in general.
Yeah.
So when I was on Snapchat, the days of Snapchat, God love us. And
I had about 2 minutes on that.
I went on a rant of my life about shampoo and about how everyone needs to use a good shampoo. And I remember it was around this time of the year, and my aim was to get everybody using good shampoo. That was
Okay.
all. Good shampoo. We're going to start in January. It's going to be your new hair resolution. And I kind of do it every year now. I kind of try and come on, do you remember doing this?
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And it kind of went a little bit viral on Snapchat. And then I kind of went over. I was always on Instagram.
Okay.
And then Instagram turned into videos, and it was easier to do the chatting and going
Yeah.
on there. And it built from there, and I got
Okay.
signed.
Okay. So it was over COVID really kind of took off for you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Massively.
Yeah.
I'd say grew about 50,000, I'd say, in followers over the period of COVID, like.
Okay.
And madness just blew
Okay.
up completely. And I'm really, really lucky that I was older getting into it, because I can only imagine if you were younger, if you were very self-conscious, how much you would be affected. Because I have seen people become very, very affected by being in the industry. Because at the end of the day, there is no one but you. And if the shit hits the fan, it's only you it's hitting. And the level of hate and the level of trolling, and I wouldn't even call it trolling. These are real human beings that can actually message you hateful things and blame you for things. And
have you had that?
Like, first of all, I would say that I have very, very thick skin.
Okay.
And that sometimes people do message me things and I'm a little unaffected by it. Maybe other people get a little bit more affected by it.
But what kind of messages did you get?
Well, I suppose with what's going on in the world at the moment, I've received quite a lot of messages
about
with regards
the stuff
to what's
that you're
going
sharing
on
about Palestine and that?
Palestine and
Okay.
Gaza and stuff like that.
As in people that don't agree with...
They don't agree with me posting on my stories, and some of them say I don't post enough, and some say I post
but
too
you
much.
can never
But like,
please everyone.
You won't keep anybody
And what
happy.
is it? They don't want to see what you're posting, or they don't agree with your stance on it?
Some of them don't agree with my stance on it. I would
Okay.
say that there's quite a lot of people that don't agree with
Okay.
the stance on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they have relatives in other countries or whatever like
Yeah.
that they have told me that I shouldn't be. I'm told that I was part of propaganda and the likes of that. And that's the one thing I suppose is that I am thick-skinned. I'm just like, see ya.
Okay.
I'm easygoing with things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would get quite a bit of people messaging me, but they were really meant to message their friend.
I've had a couple of them before.
Yeah.
Someone messaged, go, Jesus, she looks scary. And it was like, it was definitely for that person's friend about a face that, you know, obviously I'd
100%.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And they message you.
And you ever reply?
Oh no, like literally one.
Oh,
no, I make Carol famous.
Okay.
I reshare it. No, I block out their name and
Okay,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
of
But I
course.
literally, because it's funny.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually find that really
Yeah,
funny.
it is
I'm like,
funny,
girl,
yeah.
you got caught so bad.
Yeah.
Like literally. And it's always about your looks.
Yeah,
It's always
terrible,
about
isn't
your
it?
looks and stuff like that. So I'm good like that. I'm completely fine. But I have seen a real other side to it. And a lot of that is on a lot of those accounts that are outside of, let's say, our social media platforms.
Like forums type thing?
The forums.
Oh, yeah.
The forums.
You don't look
And
at them, do you?
I've never looked in it in my life.
Yeah.
But like I have been in situations where people close to me have been on writing stuff about me and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, like, absolutely. And I've been told about it and I'm like, I don't need to know about that. I don't like.
No.
But then I do have, and I know of people who will have impending criminal cases from it, because I don't think people realise that there are things like Coco's Law now. And there are things out there where it is very, very easy to now contact Metropolitan Police, Interpol and the likes of it, and they're very happy to hand over your IP address and to actually carry on. The Gardaí take it very, very seriously.
If people are trolling you and writing stuff about you?
Well, it's actually kind of certain things like if someone mentions the likes of, oh, I'm going to check, does she work there anymore? Or kind of like literally, oh, I pass her house every day. I was walking past her house and I, don't see her car there or whatever. That comes under stalking laws. Like that's like a whole other kind of ball game of kind of, things like posting people's addresses and things like that on these forums, which is a whole different type of criminal activity. And I don't think people realise that if you're in a situation where you're doing something like that you can become unemployable very quickly. Like it can have that effect on you if you end up being arrested, have to go to court and have,
And do you know of people that this is happening to or has done? Or
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I have.
See, I don't feed it because I don't,
No,
and I
there's
don't
no
look at it
point.
and I know,
But
it
I
goes
suppose
on.
My point for that then is that like there's a lot of hate going towards kind of influencers for what they should and shouldn't be posting and stuff. And I don't think people really have know how much abuse that there is going around. I've seen the abuse, I have seen it, and at the end of the day, I think people don't realise is that, for instance, there's huge hate going towards women who, let's say, and I'm not just saying this because I've had a baby, but if they are, let's say, kind of receiving free items, or if they're for gifting, or if they're doing an advert, let's say, kind of something to do with their baby or a wedding or whatever like that, and they get a huge amount of hate for that. And I always don't understand why it's directed at the influencer, because at the end of the day, it's not directed at the brand, which is quite funny enough. But at the end of the day, it's the exact same as you going in and buying a magazine, opening a magazine and looking at an ad that is inside in the magazine, taken out by that brand. And it's the same type of advertising that's happening with an influencer. I don't quite understand it. Maybe it's because I have a business myself. So I understand that level of that. It has to be a type of jealousy.
Is it because influencers are like real people, and it's almost like, so it looks like the girl next door is just living her life and getting paid money to do that, and then Mary beside her isn't? Is there that kind of level of jealousy, do you think?
It must be. I'm totally unsure. I'm totally unsure. I have had conversations with women who have said I absolutely can't stand it when they get free stuff, especially the women that get buggies and the likes of that. And I'm that's advertising.
Yeah.
It's it is advertising. So I don't understand that level of hate, because I have said then, but do you hate the brand? Do you hate the brand? And they were like, no, just the person.
Okay.
So I don't understand that. But in that way, and I'm probably better off not understanding the way that mind works either, to be quite honest with you. Do you know what I mean?
It could be just that they see that they have to pay for this, and they see someone that is getting free stuff, and they think that they're rich anyway or have lots of money anyway, and why are they getting free stuff? But it's like, say, the supermodels back in the 1980s or 90s, the ones we grew up with, the Christy Turlington, oh my
Cindy
goodness,
Crawford.
yeah, all those. So they would have been paid to
Get
do a
up out of bed.
Lancome ad, or get up out of bed for 10 grand, wasn't that it?
Yeah.
But there wasn't that level of, I understand what you mean by what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then, yes, I suppose when you're not comparing like with like there, it's like there's a different level of dislike for that.
Yeah. And in a way then, I'm really, really glad in one way that the SAI have come out with all of these rules and the likes of kind of for advertising and because it does support an influencer and it supports the way people view things online. And the likes of, I think a lot of people for a long time didn't understand that affiliate links were actually links where an influencer was making a certain amount of commission off a sale of an item that they were sharing and stuff. And people thought that they were being, I don't know, lied to or something when they just didn't understand it. So I'm really happy that the ASI have come out and that they've said, this is the way we're going to do things from now on. This is what way that you have to hashtag anything that you're posting about with regards gifting, with regards ads, with regards your own brand. Do you know that it's people will see it? Do you know, people will understand it better.
Yeah. I don't see the problem with it either. Just
either, yeah.
I'd say most people that follow people and you know, and they're invested in, they know if it's their own brand or not. But I think it doesn't confuse things anymore if people are just writing an ad beside it, because then
and
they
they're
know.
not going to take offence to it either.
No.
And in fact, you should be loud and proud about it.
Yeah.
Having brand founder or, you know, brand owner underneath it, because it is your brand, and that's great. Like, it's just being transparent as well, but as well as shouting out, you know, I love when women are successful. I love that. So from that point of view, I think it's brilliant.
And then the thing with gifting, then, do people have to report that to the revenue or something like that, because it's actually considered to be like benefit in kind, is it?
It is benefit in kind. I don't actually know yet.
Okay.
Because I've obviously been speaking to my accountant, and with regards kind of gifting that way, you have to, I suppose, put down that it's a gift. But I don't know with regards of how much. I don't know, is there a certain limit? In the past, it was always €2,500 within a year. But I'm unsure, is that on one product or one whatever, what the value of a product or whatever. I think in one way, it's not going to be good for small businesses that would have been relying on
sending out freebies.
On sending out kind of products to influencers that have a bit of a platform to maybe build their business and raise their business. Because I have been speaking to a few influencers who said, I'm just not going to accept gifts anymore, because I don't want to accept a gift and then be left with a tax bill at the end of the year. Do you know? Okay. Because a company has sent me a gift. So I understand that. And I would say for PR companies, it wouldn't be very good, that would have relied before on helping businesses build businesses, because businesses might not want to use their services if they know that gifting isn't going to work for them.
God, I didn't think of that, actually, that it would affect PR companies in that way.
I would say, like, that's just obviously,
I don't work
makes sense,
in
PR,
though.
but I would say that it would affect some PR companies.
Yeah.
And it could be a great thing. But it's the same as the affiliate links and all of these things as well. It would kind of make me think, like, the affiliate links are fantastic for some of the influencers, and they're able to kind of like sell products and kind of like be in control of what they're doing. But part of me thinks that agencies and PR companies are going to suffer because of that, because you're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah.
Of people,
this is true,
you know, and stuff like that. So I think it'll all settle down. I think influencing is going to get way bigger.
And you don't think that there's a backlash against it? You don't think that there's like it'll be phased out and there'll be something else? Because
no, I think people are going to come up behind us and they're going to be even better at it. That's what I think. I think there's going to be a whole new. There will always be people there to sell things, whether they're Kardashians of the world or whether they're Sabrina the hairdresser from Cork. I think there will always be that level of advertising with real human beings, because organic people and organic kind of like, I suppose, posting is what helps sell a product.
You know, though, there's lots of this AI now where there's fake people
but we know it's fake.
Yeah.
And I think people are smarter than that.
Yeah.
I think people are very, very smart. And I think that they know what they want and what they don't want. I really do think that. So that's something I wouldn't be worried about. I do think, though, that there'll be a new Sabrina or there'll be a new Laura or there'll be new people all the time that are coming on board that are
that's
really
normal as well, isn't it? That, you know, people are going to come up.
And really good at making content.
Yeah.
On organic content and loving brands. I think that's the difference. I think the way it's going is that we'll really see whether people, what they love and what they don't love.
Yeah. And
I could never work with anything.
And they're not just going to do an ad because it's giving them money.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that will change. I think the brands have to stop throwing money at stuff like that as well. Do you know, the kind of way trying to...
I think people can see through that, though. People aren't really invested in it either, you know?
Absolutely.
Or they're talking about one thing one week and another thing another week. Like, it's...
That they're all linked and stuff like that, yeah. But I think the influencers are changing that way as well. They know that now. I don't rely on it as a full-time career. I have my salon as well, obviously, and I work a lot there. But I see it from what I have my foot in the door of working in it all the time, every week. It is a difficult industry to be in because there's nothing there to mind you. You know, you're self-employed, but like there is an awful lot of abuse that's left to go on. And I feel very sorry for some of the girls who get abused on a daily basis.
God, yeah, I
like, would you go into work and like literally get abused? Do you know, that kind of way?
I
get
suppose
messages
I hear,
sent to you, and in that way, like, we will kick up an awful lot. That if these, like, I've often sat inside in the salon, and I've had women sit in front of me, and they've said that their daughter, Sonia, let's just say Sonia, has been getting bullied in school, and that someone has set up Snapchats, and they have been sending some awful messages to her, and we're like, oh my God, it's desperate. And it is desperate, it's awful. But there are grown women getting these kind of messages from other grown women in this country. Like, that is horrendous. That is horrific.
And I don't think it happens with men as much.
No, it's definitely a female thing from what I can gather. It's definitely more kind of from what I see as well. It's definitely more a women's thing. And it's not the type of women that you would think that it is either, from some of the girls that have been kind of found out and stuff like that. They're all kind of like, there's no one in their pajamas at 2 a.m. in the morning kind of like mad typing on their keyboards.
Okay, so it's not like what you might think it would be with just this really sad individual that does nothing else.
Professional women. It's all professional women with families and with good jobs and kind of like well-educated women. Yeah, it is. It's that's scary. Like, it's scary for them, like, as well. Do you know? Because I always try and kind of think like, my God, if I ever get logged out of any of my accounts, will I remember the passwords? Oh my God, I am one person. Imagine having 3 different accounts, all anonymous on every platform.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember one password.
I know. Actually, I was trying to get into my TikTok today. Are you on TikTok?
I have an account, but I'm scared of that.
TikTok is wild. It's
great
wild.
crack, I heard. I came off Twitter now as well.
I can't. I know. I'm not great on Twitter, but TikTok's just one of those mad platforms that you don't know what's going to happen. You could do something. You could literally fart and it would go and get 1 million views, and then you could spend a day doing something and it'll get nothing. It's just this mad place. I don't understand it at all.
I don't love madness.
No. Okay.
Just
stick with Instagram.
Yeah, I stick with Instagram. Like, yeah, I can't imagine. I have an account, but I've never posted anything to it. It's just too jumbled up. I don't understand it. There's so much. Whereas
and if
I know
you start
everybody
looking
online.
at something like, if you like, just say you watch a full story of a little puppy and a cute little puppy, like, then your For You page will be just full of little puppy things. So
Instagram is a bit like that.
Yeah, a bit, isn't it?
Like, if you go onto that Explore page on Instagram, it's a pretty scary place.
And actually, that will bring us on to the next topic that I did want to talk to you about, because we were discussing Palestine there slightly, and without getting too much into the weeds of it, when you are looking at a post online, say about Palestine, and you are watching some of the horrific things that are happening there, and Instagram sees that that's what you're watching, it's going to feed you that.
Yeah.
But equally so, if you are an Israeli person who is watching what Hamas did, the horrors that they did on the October 7th, and the other atrocities that were carried out by them, and that's what you're watching. They're like, they're two polar opposites, and you have two different views. So it is quite scary how social media and the media in general as well can make people think in a certain way without giving them the overall picture, isn't it?
Oh, listen, even outside of social media, I've deleted every news outlet app off my phone.
Yeah.
I just think that I agree with you saying that the algorithm 100% shows you what you're feeding into anyway. It does. And I think that you have to be very accountable for what you watch. I think that you have to really stand back and see your things verified. And that's actually the one thing that has taught me over the last number of weeks, is that everything you see and read is not true.
But sure, even the President of the United States came out with something that was supposed to have happened on October 7th, and then it was refuted as well.
That was the one thing why, when he said that, why I actually deleted everything.
Yeah.
And because, like, obviously what they said what happened wasn't true, but what we have been watching daily, going on and on and on and on, it just shows you the power even that the media has, and it shows you the power of leaders have, that we can all look and see one thing and get very angry, the world get angry about it, but then another thing, and it's like as if it doesn't matter. Some people don't matter. And it's very upsetting. I question everything. I question social media.
I question humanity actually at the minute. I can't believe what's going on and what's been allowed to happen. But it's like you feel like you're sitting back and watching it, and it's not even real almost, because we're living our lives here and then we're seeing this, and it just feels like there's such a disconnect there as well. And we can go and we can march and we can post as much as we want, but really, is there anything happening?
And the thing is as well is that, like, I don't think the effect that people will realise that this is happening. I had a friend who had a child in the middle of COVID that was going to bed with a gun, a little toy gun in his hand. And she noticed one day that he was inside in bed with all the teddy bears and a gun. And she said to him, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Mama, I'm going to like shoot COVID if it comes and gets us." Because he could hear what was going on in the news inside in the room every single evening. And I think we don't realise that not necessarily with children that young who are about 9, 10. What about all of the 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are on social media that may, as you say, have looked at one or two things and then they're getting all of this algorithm that is showing them these horrendous things. Laura, I never saw a dead baby until 5 weeks ago. I never saw a dead baby. I have clients who've lost babies. I know people who have lost babies. I never saw a dead baby. I have seen over 100 dead babies in the last 4 weeks. So I'm traumatized by this. I am affected by this. I'm very, very affected by it, as you are as well. And I'm wondering what effect that's going to have on younger people who are watching this, and also then knowing that nothing has been done to stop it. That scares me that little bit, because I have grown up having trust in our governments. I have grown up having trust in media. I have grown up the whole time thinking that as humanity, we were always going to do right by others, no matter what, particularly in Ireland.
But particularly after the Second World War, like it's like never again. But even since the Second World War, there's been so many other wars, and we're kind of sitting back. And
but we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them, and this is on our phones. This has been so clear to see what has been happening. And that's why I think us as humans are questioning an awful lot more. The only thing that keeps me going is that worldwide, there is far more voices for Palestine, you know, for the Palestinian innocent civilians. Like, yes, it's desperate. Hamas are a terrorist group, and it is desperate that those people, they need to be returned and they need to be able to have peaceful political talk. But at the end of the day, that level, 6,000 children are dead. I mean, that level of deaths and nothing to be done about it is horrendous.
But it's all money and power as well. And it's
Greed.
the fact that the Americans are bear hugging Netanyahu, and it's like no one knows what way to look, and people are afraid to step out of the box and
that
say
scares
something.
me, because at the end of the day, hypothetically, right, let's just say in the morning we live in Ireland and someone decided that there was like a terrorist group in Ireland that was like literally having built tunnels underneath CUMH or whatever, Hollow Street here in Dublin, whatever like that, and then Ireland started getting bombed. Would anyone
come for us?
Come for us?
I know, it is very scary.
And that's hypothetically, and that is also kind of extreme, me being extreme. But like what's happening in Palestine is extreme.
And you said about the younger kids or the teens watching this and wondering, what's going on in the world. But I also wonder, a bit like with the porn, right? If they're watching it so much, do they almost become desensitized to it? So there's that flip side too. There's just so much horrendousness.
What are we going to find acceptable in 20 years' time?
I know.
What are we going to find acceptable in 20 years' time? And also all of these poor, poor children who have been born into this and seen this in front of their eyes. Extremism is going to be horrendous in 20 years' time.
Well, this is it. Like, what are they, unless they literally wipe out the entire Palestinian population, which, unless they do that, they're breeding people that are going to be so much more. There's going to be so much more hatred.
I know it sounds desperate, but I can, not that I can understand, but I suppose I can see, even though I had no understanding at the time, I can see how grown men thought it was okay. Not thought it was okay. It was their job to get on a plane and fly it into a building. A 9/11. Do you know how crazy is that? The most horrendous thing that could have happened to the people of the United States. And there must have been, now I can see, there were those little boys and those little girls so full of hatred because their families had been wiped out and their homes had been taken for them. I wish everybody could just for a second just imagine that it was in their country and happening. So if you're talking about this hospital that's in the middle of Gaza City, imagine it's the CUMH. Imagine that it is St. James, or imagine that if it's just imagine that you have had to leave your home. Right now, you have had to leave your home, and imagine you're in the car park and you're there in the car park of that hospital because you think that's the safest place for you to be. Just imagine that now for a second. I think people need to just imagine that. That's what it's like. That's what it's like. That's scary. That's scary because it can happen to other states. It can happen to other countries because the UN has been ignored and because everyone else is not standing in to say stop immediately.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I actually went back because I'm not a historian by any shape of the imagination, but I actually went back and listened to David McWilliams does a podcast every week.
I listened to it.
The 1 to 4 on Palestine and Israel, and he brought you through the absolute history of it from day zero, because there's been political and religious wars there for many years. But the reality is that Britain did take a little sheet of paper out of the top drawer one day and go, okay, so we're going to give the Jewish people back their land, and they took land that was other people.
Yeah.
And
it's occupied land.
It's
occupied land.
It's beggars belief though that it's going on, and it's going on in front of us. And like what you said, we didn't see those other wars, or when Ukraine broke out, we saw some of that. We did, and we knew it was going on. And I suppose the West did very much stand up for Ukraine, but now it's split.
I think the world is split over this. I think very much the world is very, very split. And I think the people aren't taking into account that the amount of casualties, it's a whole other level. Like, it's a whole other level.
I read today something like 1 in 200 Palestinians have been killed now. 1 in 200 of the entire population.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. It's 160 children a day. Imagine all them laid out in front of you.
Well, I had to turn off the phone the night because it was those little babies that were taken out of their little incubators.
Yeah.
And all of them lying there, and you just want, when you have a little baby, all you want to do when it's crying is pick it up.
Yeah. I had to stop as well because the night feed, that dream feed, was killing me, like going in and just looking at him, crying over him. And like every day I think it can't get worse. And every day there is something worse. I've seen unimaginable things. And like, they shouldn't be happening. Not that we shouldn't be seeing them, but it shouldn't be happening. But to have that helplessness and that feeling over you is just horrible. And my greatest fear is that people are going to forget about it. You can already see news outlets not reporting anymore. You can see people not talking about it anymore.
People are bored. Like, not that they're bored, but they don't want to keep seeing it.
They don't want to keep seeing it. They don't want to know about it. They don't like. They're uncomfortable about it. That's kind of the feedback that I have gotten anytime that I've asked people that. I've had a lady recently tell me that it was highly inappropriate for me to be posting about, it was actually about those babies in between my stories. And I was just like, are you saying it's inappropriate for me to share my child? Because I'm not going to not share the plight of those innocent live babies who probably won't be alive tomorrow. At the end of the day,
and
like,
you know what?
Where does your comfort sit when it comes to stuff like this? Like, it's actually reality. Do you know? I could share the really bad stuff, but I won't. Do you know?
And what I think as well is that, the way we talk about PTSD, or we say, Jenny looked at me funny when I was 5 and therefore I'm anxious now, and I remember that. I remember that mad look she gave me and I was scared. And every time someone looks at me that way, I remember it. You and the torque. Lou roll, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the PTSD that these children are going to have, and the lack of care they're going to get as a result? And then also I worry about the kids that do make it but who've no family to support them and that are trafficked. Like, those children are so vulnerable. It isn't just a case of the war's going to stop. Oh, cran, now let's patch everyone up and we'll all go back to normal with our peace talks.
They've no parents. They've no family. Their families have been wiped out. How many kids were there, like, reported even the last 24 hours that have been brought into hospital, that are there now inside in the hospital, that have no surviving family members? They're on their own. Who's going to take them out? Who's going to actually move them from the hospital down south? Like, you could talk about this for ages. It's so inhumane and it's so upsetting that we cannot make a difference.
I know.
And you do lose hope in humanity. Serious hope, because the world is rotten to the core right now. And
then we see all the protests, like the amazing protests in London. That was wonderful to see. They're going on in Dublin. There's one up in the Garden of Remembrance on Saturday. I think I'm going to go to that actually at 1:00. And then, but it's like, we're just, all we're doing is going marching. Like, nothing's really been done.
I think there's a lot of people who are puppets to the bigger world leaders, and I think that's what it is. Because to say that you're not going to put sanctions on a country, like, because it's not the right diplomatic thing to do. You're talking about dead children here now. It's not complicated. Children aren't up for debate like that.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
and even though as well, and this is the last thing I'll say on it too, we talk about mothers and babies, or women and children, and we do talk about women and children, and like, you know, God love the women and children, but Christ Almighty, there's young men being put out to war, and they don't want to be there either, and you know, their mothers didn't give birth to them thinking, I want to send them out to kill or be killed.
Exactly.
And there's so I think that we should, as well as saying women and children, we should also be talking about the young men that are being killed too.
Yeah. No mother ever gives birth to a child thinking they're going to kill or be killed.
Yeah.
In this day and age, no mother, no woman wants that.
No.
And it's crazy to think that that's what we're rearing our children into this world, that like human lives are so disregarded so much.
I know.
It's scary. It's very sad, isn't it?
It is. It's nicer to talk about hair.
The sides of the hair, the tiles and everything. I never told you exactly how you're going to solve that.
Go on, tell us.
Amino acids. Everybody is looking at bond building and all the likes of this to go into the hair and to heal it. But sure, if there's holes in the roof of the house, something's just going to go in and hurt it even more.
So you put amino acids on the hair.
Different types of products that contain amino acids. Amino acids are key for hair to stay, for the cuticle to stay closed, lock it down.
Okay.
So arginine, cysteine, any products that are rich in those amino acids are really, really, really good.
And is this in like taking them internally or putting them on the hair?
No, putting them on the head, topically.
Okay.
Yeah. So like using different kind of treatments that you can use and conditioners that are rich in amino acids. That's what's going to really, really help. Because at the end of the day, I always actually liken it to your house, hair. Think of your house and your home. If you leave the windows and the doors open, rain is going to get in and destroy it inside, or whatever environmentally can get in and destroy it. But if you actually lock them down, then everything is safe inside there. Everything is safe inside in the house. So rather than spend a huge amount of money on very expensive treatments, all these bond building treatments and keratin this and keratin that, all of which are amazing for hair. But unless you don't have the windows and the doors locked, it is a waste of time.
And what does the amino acid do? It goes in and...
So it actually closes down the outside of the cuticle.
Okay.
Smoothens it down. So as if the wind blew down the roof, the top of the roof, and just closed all the cuticle down and kept everything safe inside.
So when you put that product on your hair, does that last for a couple of days until your next wash? Through.
Well, if you're using little bits of it like every single time. So what I would do is, there's a great product, Joico Luster Lock. It's absolutely fantastic. Actually, their Youth Lock is amazing as well because it contains some collagen as well. And what you do is you put it onto your hair, comb it through. Putting conditioner on your hair is useless unless you comb it through inside in the shower. Comb it through, leave it for about 2 or 3 minutes and then rinse. And what you've done is you've closed down the cuticle on the hair.
Done deal.
Done deal. Yeah.
So that's a conditioner or a mask that you're talking about?
Well, that's a mask, and the conditioner is Youth Lock. Joico Youth Lock is actually a conditioner. Okay. So it's like literally anything like that. I like using a mask because I only wash my hair once, twice a week. So I just find that my hair needs that at the moment. And you only need to use tiny bits because a lot of these are very concentrated.
And you can't buy these in the cheaper versions. You need to...
No, you can buy them online though. You can buy them on a lot of the online stores and stuff like that. They look fantastic, sell them. And there's a number of different outlets online that sell them as well that you can get them on. I don't think they're inside any chemists or anything like that, but you can get them at their salon professional. A lot of salons, a lot of Irish salons sell online as well. Okay. So it's really, really good to support your local salon. I always say that to people. I always say, like, literally ask her, because people always say to me, oh, do you sell the products online at my salon? I goes, no, I don't. But why don't you ask your salon or search a local salon in your area to support them?
Do you not sell them online?
Not at the moment, no. Might do soon. We're so busy with the salon and with the work inside. We've recently just taken on someone actually as digital marketing. Okay. For the salon. So we're probably going to start doing a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, and I'm going to be completely transparent and honest, we make no money off products.
Do you not?
Salons don't make any money off products. Not at all. It has to. You're buying from the company and then a distributor and then it's into the salon. So like, you're really not. But I would actually kill a person if they went outside of the salon without getting a shampoo and a conditioner. Because at the end of the day, it's a waste of time coming back into me and getting your hair done perfect if you're not minding it. But there isn't like...
And then if you're shipping out to people as a heavy package, so it costs money too if you're doing online.
Absolutely.
So,
so at the end of the day, I don't mind. We've often kind of sent out stuff to clients who need it and don't live close, because we have a lot of clients from up the country. But in general, I always say to people, shop around and go to your local salon and support them.
Yeah, I buy the Kerastase off my Salon.
Oh, very good.
And I like it. So I use the shampoo and the conditioner or the mask.
Very good. That's a very good brand.
I used to not spend the money on the hair products. Hands up. Except for in the last few years I have.
You notice a difference?
Absolutely notice a difference.
Makes
without
a
a doubt.
big difference, absolutely.
It's like what you say, if you're spending a couple of $100 on highlights.
It's so much to spend on your hair than to just like not look after it, you know? And you can't take your hair off your head. You can't throw it in the back of the wardrobe like a top that you don't like. It's on your head, so you have to make sure that it's really
green
nice.
Head. Like, Jesus, I don't know if I want to come to your salon.
No, you don't have green hair. It's okay.
I know.
I can see from here.
I have a lovely colourist.
Well, what you can do if you have that problem, and I actually tell a lot of my clients to do this before they come into the salon, if it's been a while since they've had a colour appointment, is to mix a little bit of baking powder into their shampoo and put that onto damp hair like a mask and leave it in for about 10 minutes. Now, don't put it on your scalp, put it on your hair. That will lift out any impurities. It will really detox the hair in a way that will lift out anything that doesn't need to be there or that would react when they come in to colour their hair.
So normal shampoo, a little bit of baking powder.
About a spoon of baking powder into it. Put it onto damp hair, leave it in your hair as a mask.
And it's not going to cause some kind of chemical reaction now, Sabrina?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No. It's absolutely amazing because I think we're gone to the point of where we're actually kind of like, oh, let's put bond builder into your hair. Or let's put really moisturising kind of like product into your hair. A lot of people think they have dry hair. They don't. Their hair is processed. Like if you had dry hair, your hair would be dry from root to ends. Whereas the biggest complaint that I actually get from people is that I have very greasy roots and I have dry ends. And I'm like, first of all, you don't have greasy roots because grease is a dirty thing. You have sebum on your hair. It's natural oil, which is really healthy for your follicle and your scalp. And you probably have a bit of a sebaceous problem because you're using something that's dehydrating your scalp that little bit more and is trying to produce some oil to keep everything healthy. So if you use a product or a shampoo that's a lot kinder to your hair, I guarantee you won't produce as much oil. Okay. And on the ends of your hair, then they're dry. That's from processing.
It's from all the ammonia.
Yeah, it's. Do you know what? Again, it's a mixture. Water is the biggest thing.
That's gas now.
Yeah,
I'm going to put that in the reel. You shouldn't be washing your. So it's
You're
water.
To wash your hair.
So it's the water, but it's the minerals in the water rather than the actual water.
Minerals
isn't it?
and chemicals.
Minerals and chemicals.
Yeah,
in the
that are in water, and it's in all water.
So should we all be bathing in like Evian then, like the way Madonna used to?
Well, I have clients that have severe issues with their water. They have filters in their house. They have everything that you can get, and they still have the problem because they choose to have blonde hair. So I was like, if you choose to have blonde hair, you need to wash your hair in bottled water. And that's what they do.
Okay. That's next
There's
level.
There's nothing like a bride to follow that information.
Oh, I'd say not. To the letter of the law, and then they go on the honeymoon and they're in the sea and sure it's all
orange.
All the good, all the goodness has been. So you strike me as someone now. I'm just looking at the roots that you have there, right? So you probably have the same.
I've had my hair done in ages now.
Oh, have you not?
No, I'd say I don't know. It's a while. It's months, maybe. When
you
did I
feel
have
grey, you lucky cow.
I have a little bit, not too bad, but I have my hair highlighted in such a way underneath that the kind of like it blends out, and I don't ever have anything that's going against the tone of my hair. Like if you're kind of naturally flat, then try and keep the rest of it flat as well.
Okay,
I think that helps.
And then, do you think that young girls are highlighting their hair too soon? Because I was 16, I always wanted blonde hair. I did the sun in.
At
14, I did the sun in. I took 2 big strips thinking that, I'm going to look like Pamela Anderson.
You're like a fox.
And just took 2 big strips and did the sun in. They went red. Took ages to grow out. But then when I was 16, I coloured. I did my first head of highlights. And my hair, if I think about it now and I see young girls with like lovely kind of that, I suppose it was mousy brown, was it? Or, just a little bit lighter than mousy brown. I'm like, don't touch your hair.
I know, and it is stunning and it's gorgeous, but they always want to be a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's we don't colour hair in the salon before the age of 16. That's just for just an insurance thing.
And just we sun in, do you?
Yeah, we just don't do anything. We'd fix something now if something desperate came in. But the problem isn't really highlighting. Like hair will grow again, and that's fine. The real problem that I see with women is the 50, 60-year-old woman that comes into the salon that has been dyeing their hair dark brown, probably every 3 weeks because they have a lot of grey from their mid-30s. We're all allergic to colour. Like, we're all at some stage going to reach intolerance level and have a reaction, because pigment that's inside in colour is highly toxic to all humans. We actually just don't live long enough on this earth to actually reach that level most of the time. But if you're putting something with really dark melanins on your hair every 3 weeks in a lifetime, I always see the 50, 60-year-old women starting to react. And then I'm like, we have to change brand just to see, is it something, a chemical just in that colour, or is it something that you're starting to develop a real intolerance?
Is this hormonal though?
I don't feel it is.
Okay.
No, I don't feel it is. I don't think it. I think it is like literally a reaction to the actual product itself and the pigment that's in it.
And would you always be advising then someone that has had dark hair all their lives, there is a stage where they just have to go blonde or grey?
Well, to start lightening up a little bit. Like, I think like people have in their heads that they're just fully grey, that they're like 100% grey, and that's not the case at all. There might be 2 areas on the temples that might be 90% grey, but the rest of it will probably only ever be 75% or less, probably only about 45, 55%. So you're going to have about like 50% of your natural colour there anyway. So you need to respect that and not change that, because when you start dyeing your natural colour, that starts going warm, brassy, and all of that kind of tone. That's what gives you roots. That's when the regrowth comes out, because it's a different tonality to what's growing out in your head. So I always believe that blending is the best way forward. I stay away from permanent colour for as long as I can. Not that there's anything wrong with permanent colour chemically. It's perfectly fine. It was a slow day in a laboratory years and years ago when they said ammonia free, because they tried to freak people out into thinking they were allergic to ammonia. But like, we breathe ammonia. It's in our bodies. Like, it's not actually the issue. And the chemical replicate that they put in the demi-permanent or the semi-permanent, it's demi-permanent, is actually something that's way more toxic to humans. It's like, literally, if you have a reaction on a demi, in my experience and all my years hairdressing, they're the people that have the blown up faces that you see in the newspapers, not the people with ammonia. And generally the reason for that is that there's about 11 times more pigment in a demi-permanent colour than there is in a permanent colour, because permanent colour has the power to colour hair. It has chemicals in it that will open the cuticle, it will expand it and allow the chemicals to go in. Whereas in demi-permanent, the product doesn't have the same power, so they'd start depositing way more pigment.
Okay.
Now, I prefer demi-permanent to cover greys, because I don't want to change your natural colour. Remember, you have 50% of your natural colour?
Yeah.
All I want to do is blend away the white, 50 or 45% of the white. And if you use a demi-permanent, it's gorgeous. Remember there a second ago, you said that you love when those girls have that lovely mousy colour.
Yeah.
If you look up very close to their hair, they have about 5, 6, 7 different tones in their hair, all different tones. That's what hair naturally looks like. And that's why it's always wrong to put a permanent colour on, to do a blanket colour in. Whereas if you do demi with lots of different lights and different areas, you're not really going to notice the regrowth. I can't stop the regrowth, but I can make it way less noticeable. And that's something to take into account, that you have a plan with a stylist.
And it takes time, doesn't it? You can't just get it all done in one go. Sometimes it takes a few months to get it right.
It depends on hair. And I do believe that if you prepped the hair well beforehand, you can do that change in one go.
Okay.
And you can do it in one go in most cases. So if you prep it with like the likes of your Olaplex and your bond builders, rather than just adding stuff into bleach, if you actually really, really treat the hair with a lot of the bond builders, keratin and all the different treatments, the cuticle sealers, neutralizers, do all that beforehand and then do your colour, your hair's going to be like optimal. It's just going to be in the best condition it ever will be to hold on to the colour. And then to treat it then afterwards with the right products, the right amino acids, so that it holds on to the colour.
Jesus, I've had an entire scientific lesson today.
I'm so glad.
But it's great, and people don't understand this about their hair. I don't think they just go in and get it done, and that's it. But it's lovely to understand the science of it.
Well, it is, and I think when any client comes into the salon, like a new client, we will always strand test them. Like, the bleach don't lie. If you cut a bit of someone's hair out and you tape to a bit of foil and we bleach it, we can see what way that hair will react. We'll know if there's any chemicals, any minerals in it, if there's any old colour. Hair has great memory. It'll tell me like 4 years ago, down to this length, whether there was something in it, because hair will have memory and the sulfurs in the bleach will actually react in one way or another.
Okay.
So that's really, really important. But to have a plan, look at pictures, write everything down, a home plan, your routine. That's key. What shampoo you're going using. You will get there much, much quicker. Like, there's nothing, the days of like hairstylists throwing a load of bleach in and going down to the back of the salon and saying a decade of the rosary.
Or
That
having a
should
fag.
not be happening. Yeah.
Did you smoke?
I used to years ago. I haven't now in a long, long time.
And what made you get into hairdressing in the first instance? Did you always just love it, or?
Not at all. I didn't want to be a hairdresser at all. I just hated school. I absolutely hated school. I really didn't like it. And my mother just said to me one day, "You always said you wanted to do hairdressing." So I went, "Did I?" Reverse psychology.
Okay.
Literally. And I went in and I did really like it.
Okay.
I really, really liked dealing with people. I think equally I would have also loved selling cars or houses. I would have kind of like been in that zone that wherever I would have worked, I would have really thrown myself into it, and I would have like loved to have learned. What my dream job would have been, newsreader.
Really?
I would have loved to have been Anne Doyle.
She's in a league of her own, isn't
I
she?
just want to be a legend. I want to be like a legend like Anne Doyle.
Well, here's a call out now. Anyone looking for a newsreader?
Oh, I used to do the Elaine show on Virgin Media.
And did you enjoy
I
it?
remember when we were in the studio where we would sit there and like the news desk used to be across the way and I used to like make a mad dash over. I'm home.
And
literally.
Did you love it there, yeah?
Yeah, I loved doing that.
Okay.
I love doing any kind of TV stuff anytime that I've done it. I've really loved it. It's like more fast paced. It's really cool. It's really, really
And you
nice.
have to think on the spot too. There's no, there's no real prepping for it.
Anything I did with Virgin was kind of pre-recorded in a
Okay,
little way.
okay.
But when I did ITVs this morning, that was the scariest experience of my whole life.
Was it?
It's mad because I had to wear an earpiece and there was like producers, directors talking to me and I could hear things.
And you
I
having
also
to
had
read the auto cue?
there was no auto cue. I was kind of doing hair and I was talking to Holly and Phil and I was kind of like...
And what are they saying to you in your ear? And because I can't, I'm very...
Just they were kind of like saying like, 25 seconds left, Sabrina.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, oh. Do you know when you're on a kind of a time frame and stuff and telling you you're ready to go and that's like the pressure of that.
You'd do great in QVC then, wouldn't you?
I'd love to do QVC. That's actually, I think I'd prefer that now more than news reading, especially with what's going on in the news at the moment.
Yeah.
I think QVC would be the dream job.
Yeah,
Oh
I was
my
talking
gosh.
to
Love
Mark
that.
yesterday, who does QVC. I can imagine you can just... I could see you up there now doing it with your big smiley face.
Yeah.
I did say to you, I was looking at you and some of the ads that you do, and you were always really smiley. And then when I was thinking, geez, I should be a bit more smilier in mine because sometimes I feel I look like a bitchy resting face.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, I did a lot of courses on communication, and is that when you're on the phone, always smile because your voice sounds better. And it's actually really true and it's stuck with me. And always now when I'm talking to anyone, when you smile, you actually sound that little bit different. You sound softer and you sound kind of like you're having...
And your little Cork accent just goes up a little bit more too.
Oh my gosh. That little lilt. That
Little lilt. How much time, roughly, a week do you spend on like creating content?
Oh, at the moment we're bang in the middle of Christmas and the Black Friday stuff. Like I
Okay.
suppose generally kind of like... I would create stuff that's outside of kind of like ads as well. I would do an awful lot of kind of like hair tutorials and bits and pieces outside of just doing any type of ads. And it is part of my life. I suppose I would spend maybe about a full day of the week shooting content and probably another day in total of editing it.
And are you like really organised? You say, okay, it's Monday, I'm going to do it all today. Or are you a bit sporadic?
No, I can't be. I have to like literally be very, very organised. So on Saturdays I work in the salon and then I have a half day and I'm home by about 3 o'clock and then I shoot right up until 7. It's busy at the moment, so I'm shooting all day on a Sunday. And then I'll spend all day editing on Monday and then I'm back into the salon on Tuesday.
You're not afraid of hard work, are you?
No, girl. I'm not. I actually love working and I love doing it. It's a little bit more difficult with Robin. Like my mother is amazing and Dean as well, like, and my dad, they're just amazing for helping mind Robin and stuff. But
Yeah, but Dean isn't minding Robin because he's actually his child.
oh yeah, because I meant that.
Stop it. Mary Ryan, Dr. Mary
No, I
Ryan
know, yeah,
would
actually,
slap
I can
you on
hear
the
her.
hand for
I can
saying
hear her.
that. It's his child.
Yeah,
Of
it
course,
is.
He is not minding his own child. He's rearing his own
but
child.
Mary and Mike are great
I
for it. They're great for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
it's full on.
Yeah.
It
and
is
you went back
fun.
to work pretty quickly after he was born, didn't
Probably
you?
I was back in the salon after about 5 weeks.
And were you happy to do that?
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
And that was the one thing actually that kind of annoyed me a little bit is that I posted up that I was going back to work.
Yeah.
I didn't post up that I was back at 5 weeks and I'm sorry I didn't. I'm so sorry I didn't. I kept it quiet because I said, oh, I know what they'll all say now. I should have just put it up.
Yeah.
Know why I didn't put it up? I was going back a couple of hours a day.
Yeah.
Sure, I had missed most of my pregnancy because
Yeah.
I was so sick. I was delighted to go back. And if I hadn't been sick, I would have been delighted to go back. That's my identity.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore work. I love speaking with adults. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I'm so, so lucky and privileged to have my own business that I'm very excited to walk in the 2 front doors all the time. So I'll be honest with you, I was delighted to go back. But what I couldn't get over was the amount of women that were like, poor you. I was like, what? Poor you. That's desperate now that you have to do that. And I'm like,
oh, I thought it was the other side you'd be given out to, as in like how, as in that's terrible that you did that.
it was terrible, yeah.
Oh,
They were
right.
saying, poor you, that you have to go back, or that it's desperate that you've gone back to work. And it was a decision I make. I was very happy with that decision. And I will be honest with you, I love having the break. I love
there are
going
women in
in
some
and I love
countries-
talking to women.
Yeah.
And there's some women then that have to go back, that have no choice, that are unhappy about that decision. And imagine hearing that then, like, out of
I
other women.
know.
We don't support other women in that way, and that annoyed me endlessly. There is a post on my grid all about that.
I think I saw it. That's why I brought that up.
I'm telling you, girl.
I just like throw out the
Throw them.
I just throw out the fishing net and I just
You're
see
just
what,
like
see what comes back.
podcaster,
Yeah.
researcher.
I'm just like, will she say it? No, I did see that. I did see a post about that. I think women
Yeah.
should be able to make the decision that's right for them.
Yes.
And equally, like, there are women in some parts of the world. Jesus, there was a woman, like, I was in college with a girl who worked on a farm, who was from a farming background, and she said that her mother had given birth one day and the granny who was living with them minded the baby and she went back to work the next day.
Yeah.
Like after, and had
that
to do
happens.
that. Had to do it because
Yeah.
that was how their family were surviving. And there are women in other parts of the world that
In America,
will
they
give-
go back very, very
at
shortly.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Now, not a lot of them will be happy to do that, but I think that if women have the choice to do it and they want to, they should be.
We're very lucky
championed.
in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that actually made me realise there was so many things that I got a little bit annoyed of throughout my pregnancy was that women, how fearful they are telling their employer that they are pregnant. Do you know the amount of girls that have come into my office and just went, I'm really sorry now, but I just want to let you know I'm pregnant. Like, can you imagine they're telling me the most wonderful news of their whole lives, the most precious time, and they were afraid to tell me that they were pregnant. I cannot get over it. Like, I can't get over that. I can't get over that people would think any less of women that would bring, as I said earlier, taxpayers into this country. That you're able to produce children, that you're able to have, like, you know, the love you have for your children, to experience that, and we don't celebrate that. It just horrifies me. The one thing I would say is that I actually have had young girls work for me because obviously we're a hair salon, we have lots of trainees, we're educational salon. And I have had girls who are under the age of 23 who have been pregnant. And I have had them sit there and I do really feel it because I was 21 when I was pregnant. And the biggest thing that I do for them is that let's make a plan. I want to make sure now that you don't feel you're forgotten about, that we're going to do an extra little bit of education before you go out on maternity, and that when you come back, then you'll feel that you're part of it and you're still part of this, and that you're not anything less, that you have a baby, but you're actually going to feel comfortable with your education, and maybe do a few courses if you are able to in between that time on your maternity leave.
That
if you
is
want to.
so important and so proactive, because I think women aren't encouraged to celebrate that because they can be a little bit afraid, depending on what organisation they're in. But also, women aren't encouraged to talk about their children while they're in work. Like we've recently taken on someone, and she said when she went for a job, she went she did a course, say in IT, and she was told during the course, don't tell anyone that you have a baby. Don't tell your employer, the guy that's interviewing you, that you have a baby, because you would be less likely to get a job. And when you get the job, don't talk about your baby. And this isn't so long ago.
Oh, would they say
she was
that to a
told
man?
this. Well, you
That
see,
was
this
going
is-
for the interview. Oh,
but you
I
see,
have a baby.
this is the thing, and this is why. And then also, like, but I did find myself less inclined, or just not inclined at all, when I was employed. And this was maybe just my perception of things, but it was certainly, I was afraid to say if my baby was sick and I had to take time off work for my baby being sick, rather than, so I just say I was sick, because I didn't want to ever it to be, oh, she's one of those women that talks about her kid all the time, or like makes her kids as an excuse. But I think we are encouraged to not talk about our kids because it's almost seemed like as if we are
Well,
less than, or we're using them as an excuse to not work so hard. Whereas I've always found the women that have the babies and the children are the ones that can do the best work because they know they have X amount of time to do a job in. Yeah.
So organised, and I find them so obliging as well, and that they don't want to take time off and they want to work and they want to, you know, set a good example for their own children as well, which is like really, really important because they have responsibilities now for other people as well.
Well, this is it. And I think that if this openness in your employment where you know that a woman has a child and that's the most important thing in her life, okay? And you know that. But she's working to support that most important thing in her life. So if there's flexibility there in terms of them needing to go to an appointment with the child or the child being sick, that's going to come back to you 1,000-fold as an employer.
And I can tell you right now, if there's anyone watching this, I am an employer of nearly 20 women. And I can tell you right now, by having that attitude, they will work very hard and everyone will group together. We have had situations where someone couldn't come in because their child fell, broke their arm, and other people offered to come in and cover their shift because that person had done it for that person. And that's just what we all do. Like at the end of the day, if you cannot support other women, and the only way around this is to be very, very vocal.
It is.
Very vocal about it, because like a little part of my heart breaks when I hear someone apologising to me when they announce their pregnancy and say, sorry, Sabrina, I just want to let you know I'm pregnant.
It's the culture that you actually instill in it. It's like, this is an exciting time.
Yeah.
Children are important. We know you can be a mother and a really good employee at the same time. And if you constantly say that and give that message, I think it filters down to everyone, doesn't it? So important.
Absolutely, it does. And I wanted to continue that way as well. And if you only change one person, then that's, you know, that's a difference.
Sure, Jesus, I could talk to you all day, Sabrina.
All day, Laura.
But I have to ask you my 2 final questions because I know you're heading off now.
Do you know where I'm heading now? You know where I'm heading off
to bed.
A hotel room all by myself.
She told me she'd be in bed with the vodka at 7 o'clock and she's going to have a full night's sleep.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I will have food too.
I'm jealous. I'm going home to cook dinner for the
I love those videos.
Men.
You need to keep them going because I'm watching you preparing your dinners, right? And I'm like
throwing stuff in.
Yeah. I'm like, why am I making such effort? I'm going to do it your way from now on.
Absolutely. I'm telling you. But I use every jar in the house, every thing every scrap in the fridge.
Absolutely.
It's amazing the stuff you can concoct together.
I think I've just become so institutionalized about the air fryer that I've forgotten to use my oven, and you are influencing me.
Actually,
I can tell you that.
That is so funny because people are saying to me, "Oh my goodness, buy an air fryer for those sausages." I'm like, I literally, because I've seen the air fryer trend, but I'm like, I'm old school. I'll grill my sausages.
Swear to God, you don't know what you're missing.
Really?
No, you don't.
Is the air fryer
genuinely
that good?
It is, yeah. And you know the weird thing is when I actually got one, my friend was like, "You cook everything in it," and I was like what? I have Le Crusoe at home, so I was like what? What's everything? She's like, just like everything. I'm like, but what do you mean everything? Tell me. And she was like, everything.
But
and now if you asked me, I'd be like, everything goes in there.
But how do you make a full dinner? Like, it's not big enough.
No. Chicken goes in one side. I'm talking about the dual ninja ones now.
Okay.
Chicken goes in one side and then potatoes and veg go on the other side.
And it's literally air heating up that's cooking your food.
Yeah.
I'm still, I've been cooking the same way since I was 12 now.
If you got it, Chef Laura, 12 years old.
I just always cooked,
No, they're very handy. The likes of the sausages now, I'd never use the grill again, just for cleaning purposes, how clean it is. Oh, it's a whole different, or chicken nuggets or goujons and stuff like that.
So if I do buy an air fryer now, all my cooking videos are just going to be like, I'm just going to dump them into the air fryer and take them out.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, I'm influenced now.
You do some of the things like roast potatoes and stuff very handy.
Okay.
I do an egg. I just do a boiled egg inside there. I'd put the egg in there and in for about six minutes. And I'd put the rashers in maybe beside it for maybe about 9 minutes in total. Put the eggs in, then I'd have a boiled egg and some rashers. And actually what's really good in there is those bread rolls that you do in the oven.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
And is it a big yolk, this Ninja Dual
It's big
thing?
enough, yeah. It's worth it.
Which is another yolk for my kitchen, the amount of things
yeah, but
I have.
you will end up using it. That's the only thing. It's good value.
I will. Okay, I will, just to try it out. Because so many people have said to me, people are horrified that I still use the grill.
See, I was you.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I'm saying,
okay,
no.
Grand. Okay, I'll go and do it. So those videos now are going to be 2 seconds long because everything's just going to be thrown in. Yeah.
Or all of us shaking.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. Well, Sabrina, what advice would you give young people today, apart from buying an air fryer?
Well, actually, do you know what? I was thinking about this question because you ask everybody on the pod. And it brought me back to what advice I heard when I was younger. And my dad told me, don't ever lie. Always be honest. Because if you tell a lie, you'll lose trust. But if you're really honest, I can help you with anything. And it made so much sense to me that throughout my life that I have been really, really honest. And my honesty has always got me everywhere. I think it makes you very accountable. And it brought me back to another question I was asked recently. It was like, where do you get your self-confidence? And it's from being honest.
Okay.
From being really, really honest. I've nothing to be fearful for when I talk because it comes from a real honest and kind place. So if it's something for young people, I really think that be honest and never lie. It'll always stand by you. There was one other thing as well I wanted to say.
Say it.
Read a newspaper once a week.
Okay.
Be really good with current affairs.
Yeah.
You've no idea what company you're going to be in. And if you have a good view on what goes on in the world, you don't have to be completely educated, but just read a newspaper once a week. It'll really help you in life.
Which newspaper now? Examiner, being from Cork?
Well, the Examiner is a good one.
It is a good
actually,
one.
At the moment, only one I'm going to say is the Examiner at the moment.
I actually
After
like
last
the
couple of weeks.
Examiner. I do like the Examiner.
Yeah, Sunday Independent's good as well. So on a Sunday, that's good. But like the Examiner is a really, really good one. Just keep up to date.
I like
with
the
current
Economist
affairs.
too. I get it. The Economist.
Oh, let's try that.
Try it. You can subscribe and it's just all online. And then the Atlantic, although it's a bit American-y, but it's no harm to know what's going on that side of the world either.
It's actually very important to keep up with current affairs, and I wish I knew that more. You never know where you're going to be or what you could be talking about.
And you could just be in a pub someday and at least you can understand the conversation.
Well,
Isn't that
do you know
right?
what? When I was much younger, I was invited to a lunch, and it was with Bank of Ireland, and I ended up sitting next to a lot of men who were on boards. One was on the Kerry Group board and all of this.
Yeah.
And like they started talking about something and I was able to join in. And that was big for me because they did kind of go, the blonde hairdresser. But I had a little bit of information on current affairs and I was able to join in a conversation. You never know when you need it.
That's stellar advice, actually. That's a new one now. No one said that on the pod, actually. Really interesting.
I feel all good about myself.
And the honesty one, that's actually... No one said that, and I think that's
Don't
lovely.
lie.
Yeah.
Big thing. I had to go back to when I was young to really kind of understand that and to kind of really, I suppose, what was I told that stuck with me that I know worked for 20 odd years. And that's what it was. Don't lie. I'll always be able to help you. Especially if you're doing exams or if you're doing stuff in college or if you're like, you know, like if you just say, look, I didn't do my homework. I genuinely was under pressure last night and no one's going to give out to you. But if you say the dog ate it, come on, no, like.
Or if you plagiarise the hell out of your friends' work. Yeah. Of course, you'll always get in trouble.
Exactly.
And what's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life to me is loving hard. I suppose, like, you'll always love your children, but I had a bit of an epiphany, like, after COVID when I met Dean. And I just kind of, I suppose, I love hard now and I love all of my friends and I love my family. I love so deeply. And what I didn't realise is that if you show that love and you get that love back, it spreads like wildfire around everyone around you. And it's really healthy and it's really good for you. I know it sounds a bit weird, but if you just...
Do you tell your friends you love them?
Yeah. I do. I tell all my female friends I love them. I come off the phone and I go, love you, like always. And they say it back as well. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes, we all hug each other and stuff like that, but tell people you love them, do you know?
Yeah.
And it's really, really important that you do that. And I feel that you'll be happier. You'll smile more just by loving your life and loving those around you. And if you find yourself in a position where you're not loving, take a step back and question why that is. And sometimes you need to remove yourself from a situation. That's important too.
Sabrina Hill, wise woman.
Thank you.
You're wiser than your years anyway, definitely, without
thanks.
a doubt. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you for many more hours. We'll have you on again.
Oh, brilliant.
In
I loved
another
this
12
chat.
months. It was fab, yeah?
Yeah, I might
Wasn't
do
it?
something a bit mad now, like in 12 months' time.
Fabulous.
That's brilliant.